Welcome everybody to tonight's showcase of the GRLCS Season 17, Week 4 for the Plat Capped Division. I am your illustrious host, What to Birdie, and joining me tonight is a new friend over here at GRLCS. This is Tallbird. How you doing tonight, Tallbird?
I'm doing fantastic. Looking forward to the game.
Speaking of the game, we are already into the picks and bans of this draft phase. Jinx and Victor taken off the board by Dawgmar Gaming, and in response, Dudbro Gaming have taken off the Zac and the Lux.
The Lux is probably a support ban. She's an extremely annoying support with a root almost as powerful as Morgana's with significantly more burst damage.
We won't be seeing the new champion in this pick phase either. Dudbro Gaming doing the red side, chore of taking Zeri off the board. Yasuo also going to be falling from Dawgmar as we wait to count down their first pick.
Dawgmar looks like they're trying to avoid a lot of the high damage bursty heroes with a ban of Yasuo, Jinx, as well as Victor.
Yeah, a bit of a focus towards these hyper carries, these late game scaling champions that can really get out of hand if you don't draft your point and click CC, pay your taxes with your resistances or with your anti heal, etc. But with that, they're going to be picking up the Hecarim as the first pick, almost for sure in the jungle. I don't think Hecarim really is that flexible. And Dudbro, very fast in the response, is going to pick up Trundle Corki.
And the current meta, Hecarim is probably the strongest jungler. Will be interesting to see how he handles Trundle. Definitely way more mobility, so it's going to be a very objective-oriented game for the Trundle. I doubt he's going to get a lot of picks in
Yeah,
ganks.
especially because Corki is still so strong in the meta right now, given the items that he's able to use and, in some cases, abuse, and the amount of damage he's able to just output. Hello, Dawgmar. That is an anti-lock in. Not exactly what we were expecting, but it's there.
It's a stun for the Corki. She can probably put him down long enough to get the rest of the team to end him before he can be much of a problem.
And he does have the ability to drop that bear, just that point and click bit of crowd control, keep Corki down. This is the patch where Corki's package has been nerfed. The first package arrives a little bit later, and the restock is also a bit later. And speaking of drafting more crowd control, Dawgmar keeping up the focus on easy crowd control access with Braum for the bot lane.
Interesting choice on Braum. That is not a conventionally strong support in this patch. Definitely.
Generally, not one that you blind pick either. It's usually a counter pick to champions like Leona or Thresh, these champions who really want to get in. Braum has really good access to that counter engage with the Glacial Fissure and with his Winter Spite passive. So, seeing Braum, Ezreal feels like a pretty decent pickup.
Classic Ezreal pick. Everyone's loving the new foe Kleptomancy rune.
Everyone
Bonus
likes
damage
First
and bonus
Strike.
gold.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about First Strike on Ezreal. I feel like it is somewhat overrated. Sometimes Conqueror will just get you a little bit more damage, and First Strike can be deactivated fairly easily by certain champions, though Ezreal is a champion who uses it pretty well. So we'll have to
People
see
like it
what
because it's reminiscent of his strong Kleptomancy days.
we miss Kleptomancy, but we'll have to see how the Dudbro Gaming ADC is going to pilot that one. But speaking of ADCs, more of them are taken off the table. Next to Zeri is going to be Vayne taken off, and Dawgmar seems to be protecting their top lane matchup a little bit, taking the Mundo away.
A Vayne ban is interesting when you can see that they have a Braum and a Hecarim. Those are some really tanky individuals to ban Vayne for.
Yeah, since they've already picked up their AD carry, I suppose they are just really focusing down that pool, not wanting the AD carry of Dawgmar to have that comfort pick. Nothing that'll be good into the Trundle, especially, and have the backline access to follow up characters like the Hecarim and the Braum. And speaking of backline access, I think the Kai'Sa is also a really smart ban.
Kai'Sa is definitely a solid ban. She's extremely powerful this patch. Her and Irelia are probably equivalent in terms of ability to isolate and assassinate. A Cho'Gath ban. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
that is a locked in Cho'Gath ban. Dawgmar does not want to deal with any of these top lane health bar beefcakes. No tanks that they were wanting to match up against. It is worth mentioning that the Vayne was banned away first, so maybe this is a Dawgmar pivot. They were hoping to lock in the Vayne on the second rotation, in counter to potential Dudbro Gaming picking up one of these two beefy, healthy frontliners. But with the Vayne being banned, maybe they just pivot their bans and start banning away the champions instead.
That is a very solid pick. Karma's an excellent support and has been pretty much since her inception.
Yeah, Karma has never been, I would say, bad in support. There's had times where she's been like outshined by other poke supports or other enchanters, but she's generally always very good. And especially in the lane with Ezreal, the combination of Ezreal's arcane shot and Karma's mantra Q, it's a lot of damage in the lane, and it's going to be difficult for Braum to pilot. I wonder what AD carry they're going to match up with it. Speaking of dive, Dawgmar just wants to keep going in Tristana. Is their AD
Well,
carry
with
lock-in?
the Braum Tristana combination, we're going to be seeing probably a lot of maxed bombs, especially if she goes HOB, Hail of Blades.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a situation where Halo Blades feels like it is almost decidedly the perfect rune for Tristana. Just jump in, get those 3 autos off, charge that bomb up to full, and get the Braum passive off on whoever target you want to stun. Lots of damage. Tristana gets her jump reset. You don't have the same consistent damage that press the attack would give you, but it's still a really strong lane combo. And as their final lock-in, Dawgmar is going to pick up the Gwen, another decidedly strong champion on the recent patches.
That's pretty much a hard counter to Trundle.
Yeah, and not exactly a soft counter to Set either. Trundle and Set really both these champions who want to be building these tank stats, want to be getting a lot of health bar behind them, want to be pressuring through side lanes or through just playing these front to back team fights. And Gwen says, haha, no, Gwen is immune.
Well, you have to keep in mind, especially for boxing, Gwen gets a lot of armor and bonus stats when she's in her Hollowed Mist.
The Hallowed Mist does give those extra stats. We are going to be waiting a little bit of time as the actual champion select happens in the client itself. So we have a bit of time to talk about these drafts and consider what potential both these sides have. I think Dudbro has opted into a fairly strong poke composition. I think Trundle and Set are maybe a bit off flavor for that, but the combination of Corki, Ezreal, and Karma is going to be putting out a lot of poke damage.
It's a lot of poke damage against a lot of CC, especially with the on-hit effects applied by Gwen's Q. You're going to get a lot of procs for Braum's for Braum's passive.
Yeah, a lot of auto attackers to take advantage of the Braum passive. Even Annie, despite not having like any attack speed stairs or anything like that, she has an auto attack range of about 625, if I remember correctly, one of the highest in the game. So she has also the ability to access the Braum passive as well as anyone else on the team.
And then we have Hecarim's Sphere. They're going for a very CC heavy team as opposed to the others, which Dubro appears to be just going for beat him down.
Yeah, Dudbro has drafted what I would say is a fairly standard front to back. You've got your 2 beefy frontliners, you've got your DPS in the back line, and an enchanter to keep them all healthy. Whereas Dawgmar just is fully indexed into the dive, like we were talking about earlier. Braum gets the Glacial Fissure, Hecarim gets the Onslaught of Shadows in for the charge, Annie drops the bear on somebody. And if all fails on that, you can also have Gwen be a side lane threat. I don't think either Set or Trundle can really handle her in the 1v1.
The biggest issue I can see for Dudbro is if Set gets fed, he'll be one of their main carries. And if Set gets put down by Gwen, which is probably the more likely scenario, their top laner is going to be very weak. A Set who's behind is not a very good champion to have. He doesn't operate well when he's behind.
Especially considering with the fighter item changes that came through on this most recent patch. A lot less health coming in for a few of them, and a lot less of those tanky stats, and more indexed towards the damage. So it's been a pretty hefty nerf for champions like Set, like Aatrox, these champions who really rely on items like Gordrink or like Sterak's to supply them with a good laning phase, now are honestly being a bit exposed for having these weaker laning phases.
Which is a shame, especially since it was already never a tank meta to begin with.
It was never a tank meta to begin with, and now the fighters are slightly weaker. So who will dominate the top lane seems to be champions like Gwen, like Aurelia, like Jace, these ones who can output a lot of damage in the early game and snowball their leads away.
They've definitely gone to try, or Dawgmar has definitely gone to try to beat up a lot more of the heavier health, high tank guys. So it'll be interesting to see how a high resistance Trundle or a W'd up Set is going to fare against their team composition.
I do wonder. This is a champion that we've been seeing somewhat in pro play. If you've been watching the LCK or the LPL, Malphite snuck his way through this pick and ban phase unnoticed. I wonder into either of these teams if he would have been a viable option as opposed to the Set or even to the Gwen if you really wanted to have more of that backline dive.
Malphite would have probably been a greater pick for Dudbro because Malphite's main bonus here is being able to just frontline, and Malphite behaves a lot better behind than Set does. Gwen is still good behind just by virtue of max health damage passive.
Max health damage. She has the ability to push towers fairly well with the attack speed steroids in her kit. And yeah, like you're saying, set behind can really struggle in games like this, especially ones where you've got Hecarim, who's going to be unstoppable diving into the backline, Gwen, who's going to be immune in her little bubble, Tristana, who's a fairly mobile AD carry as long as she can start getting those resets, and Annie, who you're really never going to have access to in the team fights. You're either, if you're trying to pick someone off, maybe you can flash and pull Annie into your team, but if she hasn't dropped the bear already, that's risky. Or maybe you can throw Hecarim out of your team, but it feels like the options here for Set are pretty limited.
He's going to have a nice ult target with Hecarim and Braum, but it's not going to do much for them, especially if Braum can get in front. He can block a lot of things. There's a lot of projectiles that Braum can completely negate.
Yeah, the Braum pick was in the Corki, and the Ezreal was picked into it. And while I was mentioning that Ezreal is fairly good into Braum in terms of the laning phase, the later the game gets, the better Braum is going to be in this matchup.
Braum's ability to just completely block an Ezreal is going to be interesting if he can pull it off. It's a very fast traveling projectile if he can see it charge up.
Wind walls are pretty good into skill shot champions like Corki, like Ezreal. It's not the same as Yasuo's wind wall, but he still has the body behind it that he can take damage from, but it's reduced damage. So I would say Braum has been a pretty good pick here. It's again kind of surprising to see Dudbro opt more into it, and I think maybe that's why we saw the set get pivoted in. Perhaps Dudbro was looking for something like a Jace in the top side, looking to index more into that poke, but instead opting for a healthier frontliner to match up into the Gwen.
It's important to note that for the first proc of Braum's ability, the damage itself is completely negated.
Reduced by 100%, yes.
So
projectile disappears, but all subsequent ones, even if they are blocked by Braum, it's I think of anywhere from 20 to 40% reduction, if I'm remembering my numbers correctly.
Yes, it's a heavy amount of reduction, but unfortunately not 100%.
Let's pose the question. You take the nameplates off. You're not looking at anybody's preferred picks here. No world champion team on either side. Just looking at the drafts straight across. Do you prefer either one? Do you give one a heavy advantage?
It all depends on how good Annie is against Corki. If Corki can get ahead, Dudbro's not going to have much of an issue. He'll melt Hecarim and Braum just fine. He has the attack speed for it, and Tristana will never be able to get close to him. If Dawgmar can just not even shut down, but simply survive against Corki, allowing Hecarim to grab objectives and beat out Trundle's jungle, because I do believe that Hecarim is just an inherently stronger jungler than Trundle is, then I believe that I would favor Dawgmar in this instance. Just overall, I believe they have a stronger team comp.
Yeah, I think theirs is a fairly easy one to execute on. If one of these important ultis lands, either the Hecarim gets a good fear onto either Corki or Ezreal, or Annie gets the bear onto one of them, everybody just dumps their cooldowns into that character. Again, it feels easy to execute on. It feels like Dawgmar has one game plan, and if they do it well, they'll get the win. But Dudbro has to work a little bit more and play a little bit safer and a little bit higher threshold for execution.
Especially the combination between Braum, Hecarim, and Gwen.
There's a lot of AoE crowd control there, and it might be difficult for Dawgmar to. It might be difficult for Dudbro to play through as we wait for our spectator delay to finally tick down its last couple seconds. It looks like we'll be getting into game shortly.
Definitely, if they can manage to land their composition, their kits, Dawgmar will win pretty much every team fight. In terms of AoE damage, they don't have much outside of a Corki, an Ezreal, or a Set W. They're a lot more pick-off oriented team.
There is always the potential for these set re-engages, especially if Hecarim finds himself a little bit too far out of position, or maybe even if Gwen is too far forward. Gwen doesn't have the most health to be thrown back into the team, but it's still a target to get set into the team, to land the multi-man facebreaker, to get the extra stuns and set up for his team. But it feels like Set might be diving in there alone, which is the only thing that I worry about for this comp.
Gwen has been buffed recently. I don't recall if it's for this patch or a previous or a later one, but Gwen's max health is pretty high. She's one of the tankier top laners.
Spectator screen is all black right now. I have seen this bug before. I don't know if we'll end up needing to reset. We'll have to wait and see. I'm sure Rex Go Dragon, our production man in the back lines, is going to do his best to make sure that this doesn't stick around.
Let's
The
see.
fix that I've seen work the most often is really just resetting the whole shebang, having to exit, go back to the client, and spectate somebody who's in game. Hopefully that's not what we have to do, but it's potentially the solution that we'll have.
So I'm taking a look at the runes everyone's gone. And of course, Tristana, Hail of Blades. Hecarim going with his strongest phase shift. Let's see. We don't really
Phase
seem to have
rush.
anything. We have 2 first strikes. Corki going first strike instead of electrocute, or
Yeah, Corki most often has been going first strike in these lanes just because he has the ability to proc it so easily with his E. It happens near instantly. There's not a lot of ability for other laners to get in and damage him before that E comes through. So the first strike always procs, and then he's able to get the extra gold out of it guaranteed. It's a lot of value for him in the laning phase. I think the interesting one was Set not having lethal tempo, as well as Gwen not having lethal tempo.
Gwen
Conqueror is
usually goes Conqueror. She doesn't need lethal tempo that much.
Yeah, Conqueror is still a strong rune for both of these champions, so it's not unsurprising to see them pick it. But I know a lot of recent Set players have been doing less of the tanky build and more of like the split push side lane threat with like a Trinity Force and a Blade of the Ruined King, just trying to get a lot of extra damage through the side lanes and then the tower pressure. But it looks like Spectator bug has been fixed. Don't have to worry. Everything's okay. I do want to point out that Airtone doesn't have his support item. I don't know if he's noticed that.
I'm gonna go with he hasn't.
Given that he's not recalling right now to pick up his items, I'm gonna assume that he hasn't seen it. It does look like the Dudbro bot lane is looking for a little bit of cheese here. Just looking to play up aggressively in the lane and maybe get an extra bit of what would be an extra bit of gold for Airtone, but won't happen for him if he doesn't have the item.
I am curious to see if he's just going to save his gold, but that's unconventional.
Yeah, so he should notice about now that the auto attacks are not giving him 20 extra gold. So hopefully on his next recall, he'll be able to rectify this real fast.
We're definitely excited to see how the Gwen match goes. if Gwen wins, this is going to be a huge problem for Deadbro.
Yeah, if the set can get ahead, even though the fighter items are significantly weaker than they were in the previous patches, they're still fighter items, they're still good, and Set is still a very strong champion. So it's not like Set will be unplayably weak, it's just weaker than he has been in previous versions of the game.
We've got Hecarim, who looks like he's slightly ahead of Trundle on the jungle clear, which is expected. Trundle doesn't have, I believe, any AoE damage.
Yeah, Trundle really just relying on the auto attack reset from the bite to get him through the jungle, and his passive to keep him ridiculously healthy through it.
We have Corki recalling. He's out of mana, that's unfortunate.
Just trying to get a little bit of a cheater recall here. I think this is a... The Cannon Wave has just pushed into his lane, so I think he's just going to pick up the tier, potentially teleport back to lane if he has to, but I don't think he'll actually end up missing anything if he just walks back. Really smart recall timing from him.
Trundle looking to make sure that Set doesn't lose this top lane. Losing a bit of time by staying in the bush. Gwen seems to be playing really cautiously. They're not going to.
Oh, there's the flash forward. Nice stun from Kovu. And there's the Pillar Chihuahua Dog. Bites down to get first blood.
Now it's huge if Trundle can get ahead. Unfortunate. Oh, he knows.
Smart walk away. Sees that the Scuttle Crab was just taken and is going to opt to walk the safe route away as opposed to stepping himself into danger.
Gwen's going to have to play cautiously now, so it's got a level lead.
So it has the level lead. She does have, I guess, a technical item advantage through the one Ruby Crystal. But yeah, Kovu not playing scared in this lane at all. Just very aggressively taking these trades with the Set, abusing his passive to its fullest extent.
Well, unfortunately, whenever you're taking a trade with Set, you lose the trade every time. Unless you can just dodge his W.
Yeah, you have to dodge the true and the physical damage from the W. Good luck trading into the shields. I don't think many champions can get away with it, though.
No.
Speaking of champions getting away with it, Chachi, again, taking a lot of hefty damage in these trades. While he does have the extra Ruby Crystal in terms of health, it doesn't give him anything for combat stats, so Set's still having a good time trading away in this lane.
Being very greedy, unfortunately, I believe this is probably not going to go very well for them. Corki just pushing Annie's lineup hard. Probably gonna go for plating.
If you can grab a little bit of extra gold, never going to be bad for him. Nice shield from Dawgmar to reduce the damage from that Mantra Q from Airtone.
Got a tiny gold lead on the Dudbro side on account of the first blood.
Yeah, just about 300 gold. The gold disparity being even up in the jungle thanks to Treyaris doing an excellent job of fully farming his camps. About 20 CS ahead in the jungle already, and that's really keeping the gold lead as close as it is, despite the first blood disparity.
That's about 15 CS, conventional CS, including a cannon wave. It's about 15 CS per kill. So Hecarim technically should have a slightly lower net worth still because of the first gold bonus, but not by much.
It will be close. I am gonna talk about this because I have a good friend, a duo partner, as I play support. He plays Ezreal a lot. Gonna have to put that on pause. It's Chihuahua Dog, another nice pillar onto Siren. Good stun from Siren onto 2. Is gonna let him walk out of there. Now Dawgmar wants to get aggressive, but this wave is a bit big for you, buddy. Don't know if you wanted to be taking this one.
It's always important to control minion aggro, especially as an aggressive support, which Braum isn't.
Ooh, might have a bit of a fight in the jungle. Chihuahua Dog happy to take these trades, has the lethal tempo. Oh, now it's Airtone's turn to step too far forward. He is exhausted. There's the stun. Mullins jumping in is gonna eventually get this kill, I would assume. There goes the last auto. Mullins bomb it procs. Hugh Luke gets stunned up too. He has the arcane shift away. Dawgmar gets the kill though. Uses the Winter's Bite to take him down.
It was very close on the tower shot execution. Gwyn playing really greedy again.
Yeah, Chihuahua Dog up top side again, just making sure that Kovu has the best time possible in this lane. He still has not recalled. Gwen sitting on the Amp Tome and the Ruby Crystal, but Set still just happy sitting on the Doran Shield, still winning these trades out.
Set is absolutely pleased to just bully Chihuahua Dog out.
Yeah, OKC is gonna struggle a little bit in the early game here, but as the game gets later and Gwen starts hitting the items and starts getting a little bit more gold in her pocket, the matchup is going to very swiftly turn away from Kovu's favor. But it's a while away from now, and if they can continue to accelerate this lead, it looks like they're gonna be having a good time in the top side.
A beautiful Ocean Drake pickup. That is a massive amount of in-lane sustain for free.
Yeah, it's a lot of inlane sustain, especially given that it's going into the poke composition. Especially the bottom side members, the Annie, the Tristana, and the Braum are going to be very thankful to see Ocean Dragon first spawn here. And our second dragon of the day is going to be the Cloud Dragon.
And OKC will definitely appreciate this additional health regeneration against the Set, who just continually punches them in the face.
Yeah, and speaking of Set, you can already see the item disparity. He's got the Pickaxe and the Kindle Gem versus just the Leeching Leer from Gwen. This is going to be a not fun laning phase anymore for the Gwen.
Treyaris still just going for the jungle, not really pushing into any particular lanes with the ult like you would expect. But trying to keep the only lead they have.
Yeah, he's continuing to keep his CS lead, which I think is a good call. I do like that he's picked up the tier. This has been a new a Hecarim strategy where you build the Chem Tank, the Turbo Chem Tank for the extra movement speed, but also get a Manamune because it is a very efficient item that allows Hecarim to not need a blue buff the later the game goes, so Annie's going to have access to that, and it also just gives him a lot of extra damage for being Hecarim and pressing his Q repeatedly.
We have a bit of a CS lead for Corki, which is extremely important. If Corki can get ahead, Dudbro's chances go up drastically.
Yeah, and given the item buffs, not surprising to see Naysayer pick up the Hex Drinker as his first real completed item, even though it's not a full item in itself. The item has been majorly buffed alongside its counterpart of the Maw, but we're going to have to wait a second. Nice showstopper from Kovu. Going to be trying to walk away. Has the flash over the wall, but a nice onslaught of shadows from Treyaris is going to shut it down immediately. Kovu gets taken down.
Hopefully, that'll help OKC gain a bit of lead back. It should be pretty much even on gold, at least.
At minimum, it gives him a bit of time to free farm. Siren flashing forward, though, wants to get the damage on the Naysayer. Uses the flash and the ignite, but Naysayer just takes the Valkyrie out and is not going to be too pressed. He's already got the magic resist. Oh, Airtone, you stepped up too far forward again. A nice ulti from Hulu, though, onto 2. Plenty of damage going back into Mullins. Has to use the ulti away. Oh, a nice knockup from Dawgmar. The flash away, but Dawgmar overpredicts. The Winter's Bite is not going to find him. Hulu's going to escape with his life. But again, Airtone stepping up a little too far in the lane.
Let's see. I don't know if the Winter's Bite would have killed Kulu. I believe that Tristana was too far back. It already decided to reset.
Oh, Kulu, I think he stepped up too aggressively. There's the exhaust. A nice cleanse for the Winter's Bite plus the Tristana bomb. No luck for Kulu there. Treyarch over here on the top side, looking to punish Kovu again. Knows that he's flashless. Nice push back. Chachi OKC is here for the extra DPS. Set still holding on to the showstopper. Waiting to use the Haymaker. Nice bit of extra damage, but yeah, he's just going to be run down. And suddenly, Gwen is in a much better position in this lane than she was 5 minutes ago.
It's surprising that no one has decided to go for Rift Herald.
Naysayer taking a bit of extra damage. The Hex Drinker Shield is going to keep him alive. I don't know how he got into that position versus Siren. I think Siren just did a little bit of extra roaming and Naysayer wasn't respecting it, but he's going to escape without having to burn his flash. Still very safe on the Corki.
Malins is actually getting a pretty high lead right now. If they don't get any help from Trundle, that's going to become a very big problem for them.
Yeah, this Tristana getting fed seems to be now Dawgmar's win condition. If they can play around Tristana's ability to essentially delete a target off the map, whether it's the Karma or the Ezreal, whoever steps too close, could technically struggle with dealing with especially the Trundle and the Set if they don't itemize correctly, looking for the Lord Dominic's regard specifically. But yeah, Tristana's damage as she gets later into the game is only going to get more insane. Speaking of insane damage, Mullins is in there again. A nice Glacial Fissure onto 2. Dawgmar takes the kill this time around, and this Tristana is looking unstoppable.
Yeah, they definitely need a lot more help in the bottom lane here. The Tristana getting ahead is going to absolutely obliterate their team comp. Pretty much, Tristana getting ahead is just as bad as Corki getting ahead, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is 7-1 already. So many of these kills happening on the bottom side of the map, and they're not even losing stress on the top side of the map either, as Mullins is going to continue to take tower platings. Now has a ridiculous gold lead over the opposing Kulu.
They need help in the bottom lane. If they don't get any help, this is going to snowball out of control.
I do like the cross-map play, but Treyarch now wants to punish Airtone again. Mullins hops over the wall, gets the explosive charge onto Airtone. They're going to donate this kill to the AD carry, but Mullins isn't done. Hopping over the wall again. Kulu has to Arcane Shift away. His team opted for the Rift Tower play on the top side, so no one is down here to defend this tower. And I think that's just going to be first tower blood with all 5 platings.
I'm curious to see what the gold difference is for that bottom lane.
Yeah, even just after that play right there, it was 1,500 30 seconds ago, maybe? So it has to be probably about 2,000, 2,500, and with Dawgmar picking up their second dragon now, as we go into a Mountain Soul, another good soul into a poke team. This game is looking all Dawgmar all the way.
It is 8-1.
Oh, but speaking of Dawgmar, Chachi now has to be the one running away. Pops the needlework, getting a bit of extra damage back. Has the Hallowed Mist as well. Nice showstopper to pull him back, but he still has the dashes. Chachi OKC in the 2 versus 1 is just confidently still pushing forward. Lots of damage from the Haymaker, but he's walking out scot-free.
The ultimate nearly won him that fight, and now Hecarim's looking to end it.
Treyarch is here. There's the Rift Trail pop from Chihuahua Dog. Ghost pop from Treyarch. He wants in. Pillar's going to go a little bit wide. Not going to do too much. Nice Onslaught of Shadows on to Kovu. There's the Haymaker shield again. Treyarch just surviving as much as he can to get the damage in, but Dawgmar and Mullins have rotated up. Airtone was there and he was gone, and that is 3 for nothing in favor of Dawgmar. They are steamrolling this game away.
They need to go up. The Herald's been taken care of by the tower.
Yeah, the Herald gets 2 platings, which is the minimum expected value out of the pre-14-minute Herald, but the gold lead still remains 4,500 in favor of Dawgmar, and it's only going to increase.
This does not look like it's a very favorable outcome. Pretty much the only chance now is if Corki can suddenly pop off.
2,800 gold lead for Mullins in the bottom lane. Naysayer is slightly ahead over Siren just in terms of that little bit of farm lead that he's gotten, but with how far ahead of the Tristana is it really going to matter?
Israel's trying, but there's not much he can do. He has to play extremely safely, because if he gets caught out by the Tristana, I don't believe that his little jump actually outranges hers.
Yeah, I have to call into question Airtone's level of play here. It felt like he was really not knowing of how far forward he could press on this Karma into the Braum. Braum generally not great into these poke supports, the ones who can really lay the pressure down, but it felt like Dawgmar was able to just walk up for free and punish Airtone every time he stepped too far forward.
I believe he just got close enough to use his Q, and then Malins could capitalize on it with Tristana. I believe if any other ADC was picked, short of maybe Ezreal.
Oh, Dawgmar flashing forward, but the Glacial Fisher's gonna go wide, and Naysayer just walks in a straight line away from Dawgmar. No thanks.
Keeping Corki at bay with his Winter's Bite.
Yeah, this is the kind of game where you are very happy to be playing support, because you just have the freedom to walk around the map wherever you want, make these aggressive flash plays however you want. You can play for free. You know you have a 5-0 AD carry behind you who can really clean up any kills that you set up for him.
We've already got nearly that second item finished on Tristana.
Yeah, just a little bit away from that Phantom Dancer, and 2-item Tristana is no one's fool. Definitely a dangerous one, especially given that Chihuahua Dog and Kovu have opted for not the tankiest of early game builds. Yeah, Mullins just gets to free jump in whenever he wants. This is this is such an insane state for a Tristana to be in. He's 2 versus 3, taking their tower, and they cannot stop him. Oh, they might be able to stop Dawgmar, though. The subjugation is going to come down. Chachi OKC is here to support his AD carry, but as soon as he sees it's an even 3v3, they have to walk away. They're too far behind.
Braum is just such a tanky individual. Even all 3 slapping on him won't do much if he's supported.
Yeah, he's already got his steel caps and his mythic. He is so far ahead. Nice arcane shift away from Qlu. It's the only option he has in these trades. He's just trying to farm his tier and get to that mana immune as soon as possible. But in the meantime, Mullins is just running the game.
That Drake will come up and then we'll get an extra 6% resistances, making Dawgmar an even tankier individual. Eventually, he'll just be uncontestable.
Yeah,
So
not even considering Gwen's steroids from her W and Hecarim building the tank mythic, which means he's going to be difficult to kill. This feels like this game went cleanly for Dawgmar from about minute 5. As soon as they started turning around the top lane, and as soon as bot lane started getting ahead, it felt like it was all over.
Honestly, the top lane probably didn't even matter. Once it was a 3-0 Tristana in the bot lane, it was pretty... There was a clear disparity there. Nearly
really
5,500 gold lead.
Yeah, it really felt like Qlu and Airtone just were, again, not comfortable with this matchup. I like this play from Dawgmar, just trying to play aggressively, see if Dudbro is going to walk up to try and contest this dragon. But Dudbro is also going to be smart, not going to try and contest the Soul Point dragon. They still have another 5 minutes that they can stall out, try and get items, try and get themselves into this game.
Looks like they're going to go for the second Herald, which is large. Maybe Hecarim can get over there in time, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to. The biggest problem for Dudbro right now that I believe is that they've gone for an extremely take a target and remove them from the equation build, and that is practically impossible short of nailing down Annie.
Yeah, Treyarch once in. He's popped the Ghost. He's popped everything. There's the Onslaught of Shadows and the Glacial Fissure to knock up Chihuahua Dog as well. Mullins is just 1 versus 3 in the backline at the same time. Just jumping ahead anywhere he can. Chachi is there to support him. Eventually, Chihuahua Dog is going to go down, but Mullins is just playing confidently. You love to see it.
They just don't have the damage to take anybody down. Tristana can leave so long as the moment they get uncomfortable with a push. And they can't follow up because Dawgmar's just gonna slow them with Winters or knock them off with his ult.
Yeah, this is the kind of game where you love to see your bottom lane transitioning their lead. They're not just sitting bot lane collecting farm, pushing their lane down and getting the Ezreal and the Karma farther behind. They're moving the lead around. They're taking dragons, taking that mid lane and the top lane tower, positioning themselves across the map to really abuse their lead. This is really nice to see.
That was probably the most economic choice in terms of getting Mullins even further ahead, because I know the gold decrease for someone who's behind has been amped up significantly, where if you're just absolutely dominating someone, they become almost more worthless than a cannon minion.
Yeah, the more kills you get on someone, the less gold they are worth in the actual kill. So just taking the extra wave of farm eventually becomes more valuable than killing the Ezreal or the Karma. Unless they truly do present themselves for free, sometimes the resources are better spent just getting the farm.
It wouldn't surprise me if Karma was worth only marginally more than a cannon minion right now. And like I was saying earlier, this is a team that's trying really, or Dudbro's a team that's trying really hard to pick a target and get rid of them before a team fight, and they just don't have the capacity to do that. They can't catch up to Gwen, they can't catch up to Hackman, they can't catch up to Tristana, they can't kill Braum.
Speaking of Annie, here she goes inside on Naysayer, has to flash himself, doesn't flash himself away, Valkyrie's away, Treyarch is here to support his mid laner, Chihuahua Dog has to flash himself away, but Mullins is here now, gets the Halo Blades proc, there's the bomb, explosive chard, maybe the last hit on the, whatever his name is, the Trundle, thank you, Jesus. Chachi OKC in the meantime is 1v4 on the backline, his team is not there to support him, is gonna take him down. A little bit aggressive from Chachi, but I think his team is far enough ahead that it's okay to make that play.
It even took him a long time to get Chachi down, with the with Hallowed Mist making them.
Oh, Mullins isn't done. Nice Glacial Fissure from Dawgmar. So much damage onto this set. The Haymaker Shield is going to keep him alive for a little bit longer, but Treyarch wants blood. Nice healing coming in. Kovu's going to stay alive for a little bit longer, but Mullins, again, not done. Keeps jumping forward. Goes Godlike, but Corki finally picks up the shutdown gold with the nicely placed rocket. Siren has no health, no mana. Has to get out of here. Naysayer has no rockets, so there's no real chase down opportunity. But that's a lot of shutdown gold to give over to the Corki.
An absolutely impeccable Gore Drinker from the set, keeping him alive even though he was being ran down by Hecarim. Set passive and Gore Drinker doing wonders to keep him up.
Yeah, just barely able to survive that team fight and give Naysayer that 1,000 gold shutdown. That is so much money going over to the Corki, which is exactly the member that Dudbro needs to have the gold for them to get themselves back in this game. That's going to get him these second item completion and hopefully get him close to the Ludens, which I would assume he's going to build with this particular setup. And maybe he'll be strong enough to contest this dragon when it comes up in a minute.
Chihuahua Dog needs to get his Herald down before he loses it. He's still got it in his pocket.
At this point, the Herald is not an incredible amount of value. He's going to drop it as the cooldown is finally going out, but I think Chachi might just be able to walk up and auto-attack it. Not sure how much damage that Chihuahua Dog has into him.
Putting the Herald down gets at least someone's attention away from a tower so he can maybe pull someone off of the dragon. So it's a shame that he had to put it down so early. It would have been preferable if he could have gotten it closer to when the dragon spawned. But it didn't.
Yeah, it's just it's the unfortunate usage of taking the Herald when your team is so far behind. There was no real push for them to take advantage of and throw the Herald down to increase the potency of the push or anything like that. It was just the extra 100 gold that they got off of actually picking up the objective in their pockets, and that was really it.
The gold lead significantly reduced after that Mullins takedown earlier.
Significantly reduced, still 4,500 gold, but yeah, significantly reduced. Mullins, I think, has to be a little bit more careful. Doesn't have that full third item yet, not sitting on the Infinity Edge. It looks like we are setting up for the dragon fight. Dudbro is just going to immediately start it. I think this may not be the right call for them. Dawgmar's walking forward. Treyarch is in. Nice exhaust. The Onslaught of Shadows is not going to fear anybody. Chihuahua Dog is just bursting down the dragon, but it's stolen! Treyarch gets the smite, and now it's the cleanup for Dawgmar. Mullins gets another kill onto Chihuahua Dog. Syrian is kind of stuck in the pit, but I think he's going to be absolutely fine. Rockets are coming through from Corki, but now with the Mountain Soul, there's not a lot of damage coming through. Mullins frontlining for his team. Kovu wants in. There's the Haymaker. Siren is going to survive, though, thanks to that Mountain Dragon buff. Mullins is jumping over the wall. He wants blood. He wants kills. He wants in. Looking for Airtone, but he may have overstepped. Shutdown goes over to Airtone to support. Maybe a little bit of overaggression from Mullins, but they get the soul anyway.
Starting the dragon there was definitely an erroneous decision. You don't have the team composition necessary to bully the rest of the individuals off. You don't have the CC to lock down the jungler. Not that that matters since you can smite while CC'd anyway, but...
Felt like the team really made the call to say, okay, we're going to try and burst down the dragon before they can get into the pit, but it took them a second to realize, wait, we don't have the pure DPS to, like, burn down this dragon fast enough. And Treyarch just said, thank you very much, I'll take a soul.
They were relying on a damage output that I believe Ezreal didn't have.
Ezreal and Corki just... Even though they're both at their 2-item power spikes, it's just not enough damage at the point. Neither of them sitting on a mythic item, which is... It's not going to reduce their damage significantly, but it is a point worth mentioning. They're both going for these styles of build that pick up the mythic later and try to just abuse the fact that of these strong either Sheen items or the Muramana. getting the extra damage from those items in particular, but those items don't bring a lot of damage to the objectives themselves, just really the champions.
I was very interested to see no ult out of the Hecarim.
Yeah, Treyarch used the Onslaught of Shadows to get into the pit, but it felt like he really had access to the pit. Maybe he can save that for a little bit later, just trying to get out of the pit, or maybe engaging the team fight more, but he used it just to get into the pit, and it got him the dragon.
And with the soul, once again, the gold lead significantly reduced, unfortunately not in a way that is helpful with the shutdown gold going to Karma.
Yeah, not exactly the person you wanted to get that extra 300 shutdown gold, but gold is gold at this point for Dudbro. They need as much as they can get, as quickly as they can get it. And if Mullins is going to keep donating it over, I don't think they're going to be upset. Surprisingly enough, Dawgmar is the champion who has not died at all this game. Nice showstopper from Kovu to try and get himself out, but I think the crowd control might be a little too much. Mullins is going to pick up that one for free.
3 items on Tristana.
Yeah, this is the sort of nightmare scenario for Dudbro that we were talking about in Champion Select. We were saying, hey, Dawgmar has the very easy to execute on comp. They can really just press R, go in, and follow up, especially if one of these lanes gets ahead. And, well, one of the lanes got ahead.
They've got Corki managing to prevent his own death. It's 2-0. If he can get online, he'll probably be able to at least contest Malins.
Yeah, but speaking of contesting, this Baron right now going down uncontested. All 5 members, or all 4 members, alive members of Dudbro, are in the mid lane clearing out the waves. There's not a lot for them to be able to walk up and contest. No vision means that this Baron just going to be free for Dawgmar.
Oh no.
When the game gets to the point where Baron goes uncontested, you really feel like we're watching the last march of Dudbro here, just like waiting for Dawgmar to finish this game out.
If they don't manage, unless Dawgmar just suddenly gets a whole lot worse as a team, I don't foresee this game going much more different than is expected.
I mean, if Mullins continues to go over aggressive, his aggression is usually at the end of fights, generally when they decide Dawgmar is already winning and already super far ahead. But if Mullins takes that aggression a bit too early and allows for Dudbro to have the ability to re-engage, I don't know exactly how they would do it. It'd have to be like an insane showstopper from Kovu or a really well-placed pillar from Chihuahua Dog, but the potential is still there. The game is definitely in Dawgmar's hands, but it's not over yet. They still have to finish the next.
Mess it up. It's how I always play League. Is it's not over till you see the defeat screen. This does mean that most of my teams hate me if we're really far behind.
That is relatable in a way that I could not explain even if I had the time. Speaking of the time, Elder Dragon going to be spawning in 1 minute and 20 seconds, which feels like the next bit of WinCon, as the Baron really didn't get to do too much, as it's falling off fairly soon. It feels like the buff has not been used to its full effect yet. Dawgmar really just walking around the map, just trying to clean up waves, keep everything pushed in, not let Dudbro free take these waves. But it feels like the buff really didn't get used.
They're really just stealing jungle for him. I mean, what they're doing now is they're gaining gold while preventing Dudbro from gaining any. Having presence in all 3 lanes and having presence in the jungle means you can't go anywhere as Dudbro right now without running into a problematic individual.
Yeah, it looks like they're finally gonna take down this outer turret as the Elder Dragon is about 30 seconds out. This has to be the time for Dudbro to contest. They have the Corki package. The Baron buff should be falling off relatively soon. I don't know if it'll still be up by the time the Elder actually spawns. I'm trying to remember the amount of time Baron buff sticks around for. Actual timers never always escape me. I always just look at how long the buff has left. It probably, you think, is another 30 seconds out, I want to say. But it feels like this has to be the time for Dudbro to go. If they can't do it now, if the Elder gets taken, Chihuahua Dog taking a lot of damage. The flash is out, but he's dead on arrival. There's the unstoppable onslaught from Treyarch, pulling the Corki in. There's the package in, trying to get a lot of damage in. Nice haymaker and the face breaker from Kovu, getting lots of CC in, but there's no follow-up. Naysayer left on his own in the back line. 2 kills for Serene. Chihuahua Dog is dead, which means no smite, which means that has to be the Elder Dragon for Dawgmar.
If there was gonna be a comeback, it was gonna be there.
Sadly, Chihuahua Dog just got a little bit too far forward, got caught out. Really nice glacial fissure from Dawgmar, just sealed that fight before it ever started.
Massive ults from everyone on Dawgmar's team. The Hecarim charging in, the Braum managing to slow everybody. I believe that was a 4 or a 5-man Braum ult.
Yeah, he got the actual initial glacial fissure onto Chihuahua Dog alone, but the AoE of it was just in such a nice place where the rest of the team was being positioned. It felt like there was no real ability for Tudbro to move. And I have to say, Dawgmar himself has been playing incredibly well this game. Not a single death, still holding on to that shutdown gold, and has been playing really great engage for his team, despite Braum being, I would say, more of a defensive counter-engage champion rather than a primary engage.
There's definitely something about it, but I always had a personal belief that the S in League's ranking system stood for support.
I feel like that might be a bit biased, but you know what? I'm also a support player, so I'm gonna take that. We're gonna run with it. S stands for support, absolutely. We were really worried about the early game of the top lane matchup, but now ChachiOKC and both Kovu and ChachiOKC really haven't had a lot of impact in this game overall. This is the kind of game where you like screenshot the scores and you go to Reddit and be like, OMG, I had such a good early game lead as set, but then my team inted me. Now I have to lose this game. Top lane such a useless role. Wah wah wah.
It's unfortunately no one played Yasuo. Nobody could hit their 0-10 power spike.
No one even going on the 0-10 power spike. Cubu being the closest at 0-3. It's the issue with Ezreal, I feel. Once you get behind and once you actually don't have the snowballing lead, you really don't get to output damage unless you play team fights perfectly. And I think if there's one thing that we could say about these team fights is that people are not playing them perfectly.
No. That does go on both sides. Mullins does get overconfident and overextends.
Yeah, like a Jinx getting a little too excited.
Yes. And looks like they're just gonna uncontested push.
Yep, they're gonna continue to pressure down, just abuse what's left of the Elder Dragon buff. The tower doesn't go down. The wave clear coming out of the Corki and the Ezreal is enough to slow down the pushes without a Baron buff. So it looks like Dawgmar might have to play this game out for a little bit longer.
Gwyn just farming in the jungle for funsies, I guess.
Yeah, just really trying to hit the third item, Power Spike, get that Zhonya's in her inventory, a little bit of extra safety. In the meantime, Chihuahua Dog is just sitting on a smorgasbord of item components. And on spawn, I think Dawgmar is just going to be able to take this Baron again uncontested. Aside from like a miracle steal from Clue or from Naysayer, yeah, Baron's just gone.
I wasn't paying attention, but at some point the Karma did manage to pick up their support item.
Yes, at some point they picked it up during the laning phase and they got the quest completed before they had their mythic. So positives there. I don't want to call this game a support gap, but it really felt like Dawgmar just outclassed Airtone in the laning phase and throughout the mid game. But I think that's also just the difference between an enchanter and the engaged style support. Airtone has to have a fed teammate to be behind to look good, to empower them and get them far enough ahead. But nobody on Dudbro is far enough ahead that makes the enchanter look good. And Dawgmar, in the meanwhile, has a fed Tristana behind him, which is going to make him look real nice.
It definitely wasn't it wasn't a support skill gap, it was just a bot pick gap. The synergy between the two individuals is definitely in Tristana's favor if they can manage to prevent Ez from snowballing ahead, which they did beautifully.
Yeah, Ezreal didn't get to snowball. Karma, I will say, definitely misplayed the laning phase. It felt like Mullins and Dawgmar really got to walk up for free and take punishes without much retaliation. And
with the way they were playing, it feels like Karma was very unfamiliar with Braum, because I know Braum's not picked all that much in this meta. Because
Braum is definitely a
couple ADCs.
Oh, here's the engage from Kovu, sped up into the backline, a nice toss onto Treyarch, but the team fight just goes immediately in favor of Dawgmar. Nice Gore Drinker to get a lot of health back, but there's just no extra damage coming through. Treyarch wants more blood, going onto the carries of Dudbro. Gonna take out the Ezreal. Naysayer, the only one left alive, trying to say nay to the end of the game. The package spawns, but I think it might be too little too late, as Dawgmar is finally gonna knock down these Nexus turrets, and the Nexus.
Not quite the Nexus yet. We've decided we wanted an ace first.
We gotta pick up Naysayer first, but they are gonna take the first game win of this best of 3 series in what I would argue is a extremely convincing fashion.
That was definitely a pick gap. I wouldn't say a skill gap because there was clear overextension. I think the biggest problem that happened here was that Airtone was unfamiliar with Brahm's kit.
Yeah, it definitely felt like there was a bit of unfamiliarity there, and there was just I would say it's a laning phase difference. They felt like they were playing around their jungler being bot side, but Trundle opted to play around the top side, and Set got a lead in the early game, but it just wasn't enough. We are going to be taking a short break before the champion select of the next game, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back for game 2, Dawgmar versus Dudbrow. everybody, to our broadcast of Dudbro Gaming versus Dawgmar Gaming after a very decisive Game 1 from Dawgmar. Our pick and ban is already underway. None of the bans changing, everything exactly the same, but the sides have switched. So now Dudbro get their hands on the Hecarim this time around.
We have decided we definitively do not want to play against any of these characters.
Despite how far ahead the Tristana got, despite how good the Braum looked, they're still going to opt to ban away the Lux and the Zeri. But this time, picking away the Hecarim, I do agree that the Hecarim had a lot of impact in the mid and late game team fights and was able to hard outfarm the Trundle. So it really felt like a more influential jungler. So we'll have to see how Dudbro can look on that one, as Olaf is going to be the counter pick for Dawgmar.
This is a ballsy pick for Dawgmar. That is a very individual, shall we say, jungle.
That is the jungler where you are going in, and if you don't get a kill, you are useless. But if you get a couple kills, you are unstoppable. And speaking of getting a couple of kills, as we saw last game, Dudbro didn't look great on the Karma, so Dawgmar says, you know what?
I'll show you
how to play it. We'll show you how it's done.
Looks like we're just swapping sides. Literally.
Yeah. I will say the Olaf does have a really nice time with Enchanters, along with Hecarim, these junglers that are very happy to have someone with a speed boost behind them, someone with a bit of extra shielding and tank stats for them, or a dive buddy like Leona. So I think both of these support
really interesting pick.
Yeah, both of these support jungle matchups, or both these support jungle duos, are fairly happy to be walking around with each other. I will say, I think Leona is an interesting pick into Karma. It's one that can definitely punish. We'll have to see how Dudbro does on the engage side of this laning phase, as opposed to the poke side, as they were last time.
I was thinking...
And that's a Ziggs lock-in. I think that has to for sure be bot lane, right?
That's going to be Ziggs ADC, and I'm going to hate it. APC, I should say.
Yeah, Ziggs is going to bot lane.
Bad choice, honestly. Above all, people like to play Ziggs because he's got a bunch of burst damage, but as a whole, he's just not a great... He's just not great. He's got one gimmick, and it's blow the tower up. But aside from that, there's a lot of people who just do his job better. So it's interesting to see if they're just playing them because they're really comfortable with his kit, or if they're hoping to push harder with him. I'm not sure. I'm interested to see how this goes.
Ziggs Leona is a fairly good bottom lane combo. We've seen it in competitive play a multitude of times. Ziggs does plenty of damage when he's got Leona to just line up the crowd control for him and let him hit all the skill shots. But Vayne Karma is also a very scary bot lane. We saw how far ahead Malden's got last game on the Tristana. Now I would say on an even stronger hyper carry of the Vayne. We'll have to see how Dudbro's bottom lane is going to respond.
Well, they managed to pick up the Vayne before Dudbro could ban it.
Yeah, the Vayne did go unbanned through round 1, and now Dudbro is going to have to switch up their bans in round 2, taking away the Seraphine, which makes me think that
the exact same thing.
Yeah, Dawgmar very happy to keep their bans exactly the same, and unsurprisingly, the Gwen is also going to be taken off the table. I think the Seraphine is the most interesting ban away here. That makes me think either it could be a Smite Karma top, which I wouldn't expect, or it could have been a Seraphine mid lane focused ban.
This is going... So back when I was saying earlier, Leona's a really interesting pick whenever you see the enemy jungler's chosen Olaf. Because you've just chosen to be able to do nothing if you get ganked. You don't have a damage output, and Olaf can't be stunned.
Yeah, and speaking of doing no damage while getting ganked, Lissandra is the mid lane blind pick for Dawgmar. A very safe mid laner, someone who can just really negate laning phases and say, hey, I'm going to push this wave out, I'm going to try and walk through the lanes. If nobody is available to gank, I'm just going to come back to mid, push it out again, and I'm very safe.
Going for a ranged top lane, it looks like. I doubt that's the mid, but it could be. We'll have to see what else they choose.
Yeah, that is the Jace lock-in. Pairing up fairly well with Ziggs, two really good poke champions, and ones that can land a lot of their skill shots if Leona and Hecarim line up the CC for them. Have to see what this
AP damage.
It's a fair amount of magic damage, just alone with the Ziggs and the Leona. Hecarim and Jace are going to be ringing there. Fair amount of physical damage as well. And I think that is actually going to be Jace in the mid lane, unless that Ornn is going mid into the Lissandra.
That is a Jace in the mid. Ornn is not gonna... Ornn can't contend with Lissandra. He doesn't have the range to do so.
Ornn can really just sit in the mid lane and farm it out and not exist into Lissandra. Again, like negating the negation that Lissandra brings and just saying, hey, you want to
play?
Yeah, you want to bring someone who's going to like not let me play the game? What if I choose not to play, huh? What about that? Or to just say,
That's not fun.
no.
That's an annoying pick. Ornn and Mord are not going to have a great time. If Ornn can get his combo off, Ornn actually does a pretty ridiculous amount of max health damage. He can really punish the Mord. Problem is, this Ornn is extremely mana intensive, and Mord is not, as he
Decidedly not.
doesn't have any.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting draft. A little bit of a departure for both teams. Dawgmar stepping off of the engaged support, taking himself off the Braum and opting for the Karma instead. And Mullins with I would say a similar enough pick in the vein, that hyper carry with the mobility resets in the team fights. The Lissandra, again, a mid laner that is simple execution, press R on somebody and let them get picked off. And the Olaf, just another jungler who's going to sprint at people. It feels like a very similar draft from Dawgmar.
I'm extremely partial to the Ornn pick. It's a pick of I've decided that I'm not going to do a whole lot until I've hit level 14, and now suddenly my team's become a much bigger problem as our mythics are just inherently better than yours.
Yeah, Ornn, I think, is a criminally underpicked top laner recently. One of the better tanks in the game, just off his passive, giving him more health, more armor, more magic resist as he upgrades the mythics for people.
Such a item heavy mythic and such a mythic heavy item heavy patch.
Yeah, I think Ornn is, again, criminally underpicked, and I'm really happy to see Dudbro pull him out here. I think, again, a kind of negation pick like Lissandra, where you're saying, hey, we're not going to do much in the laning phase. If you step up too far, I'll punish you. I do have damage, but I'm not going to, like, bring out the engage. I'm not going to be solo carrying my team, but I am going to be useful in the mid and late game no matter what happens.
It's a shame that we don't have a lot of people who really take great advantage of Ornn's items. In my opinion, Ornn does the best with people who have penetration, because Ornn's penetration upgrades are generally, I know on Eclipse at least, it goes from like 8 lethality to 18. So
Yeah, something along those lines.
lethality bonuses for Ornn are huge, while simple stat bonuses are okay. They're pretty good, but they don't do as much as a massive lethality bonus like that.
Yeah, it is going to be... Jace for sure is going to be building Eclipse this game. It depends on when he opts to pick up his Mythic. Jace sometimes can opt for it either like even second or third, depending on when he actually feels like he needs to pick it up. Jace generally strong enough just on the Manamune or on like an extra serrated Dirk if he's going like Yomu's, or even needs like an Edge of Night for a bit of safety. Ziggs can build the Luden's Tempest just to grab that extra bit of pen as well. I agree with you. I think the pen upgrades are probably some of the most valuable, especially given no one on Dawgmar is really going to be building tank items.
Jace is going to hurt depending on how he builds. Mordekaiser, if he can hit Ornn down, which he should be able to do unless Ornn plays really well. If Ornn plays well, Mord will lose, because that's a pretty even matchup. That's definitely a much higher skill for Ornn if he wants to win.
Yeah, this is probably Ornn's highest skill matchup, where he has to unstoppable the Death Realm from Mordekaiser if he wants to survive. But if Mordekaiser gets him in the Death Realm, there's not a lot that he can do.
But it's still interesting because even though it's probably his highest skill cap game, it's not one of his worst matchups. He can do the matchup if he has the skill for it.
Yeah, Ornn has a surprising amount of early damage in the laning phase, I would say. Just the percent health damage coming from the brittle procs on his W and on his ulti
is just straight up oppressive.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how well Kovu can use that oppressiveness in lane. We did see him come out to a fairly early lead thanks to a fairly hefty jungle camp from Chihuahua Dog. Again, Chihuahua Dog on an early game jungler, the Hecarim just trying to oppress lanes a bit, get some early ganks off, get people ahead, and I think all of his lanes, except for possibly mid lane, have really good setup for him.
I feel the Vayne was an excellent pick into the Leona. That's going to negate pretty much all of her tankiness.
Yeah, true damage is pretty good when you're dealing with resistances, especially because it is it's a percent health true damage as well, which just makes it even scarier for Leona to deal with. Hecarim, Ornn, and Leona not going to have a fun time into this Vayne unless they can really shut her down. I have to assume Mullins is going to take Cleanse in this matchup. Maybe even Karma's going to build a Mikhail's for him as well, just try and keep him extra safe.
True damage, pretty good.
Pretty good into tanks, fairly decent. I will say the poke coming out from Jason Ziggs is going to be worth worrying about for Dawgmar, as they don't have a lot of sustain. They have a little bit of shielding coming out of the Karma, but their point-and-click go button is really on Dawgmar again, on the support. with either the Shurelias or just with the Mantra Shield, just getting his team to run at the enemy team, or maybe even waiting for Dudbro to engage first.
I'm curious to see because Ziggs probably ought to win this early lane. It shouldn't even really be a contest of supports. Ziggs naturally outranges the enemy, so he'll probably poke, and he should play really safe. If he gets within range of Vayne, I'm going to say that that's an error.
Yeah, this is going to be a teleport Ziggs. This is how you play the Ziggs Leona lane phase. You don't really all in unless Leona finds a perfect engage onto Vayne and Vayne doesn't have cleanse. But otherwise, Ziggs is happy to farm up, just sit on a tier, sit in the laning phase, toss bombs at waves, push them under your tower, just be a threat without staying in range. I like to call Ziggs the half dive champion, as all of his damage comes from so far away, he can access the backline without being there.
Yeah, it's his basic attack does a huge amount of damage when his passive is up.
Yeah, the passive damage coming up from Ziggs, along with all the extra magic damage from Leona, the poke damage coming up from Jace, and then the all-in potential of Hecarim Ornn. I think Dudbro have drafted themselves a really good comp here. I thought their comp was fairly good in game 1 as well, though Dawgmar's was easier to execute on. And again, I think they have a fairly easy to execute on comp. I think the Lissandra and Mordekaiser are going to have a bit of a tougher time getting into Ziggs Jace, but when they get in there, they're going to cause trouble.
It's really interesting that they have gone for a significantly less team-oriented draft on the side of Dawgmar. You've got Vayne, who doesn't really have any sort of team fight synergy aside from shoot the guy. You have Karma, who's just going to be buffing Vayne. You have Olaf, who has no other plan other than hit the dude, and Mordekaiser, who is isolate a single target. So you've gotten rid of the triple team fight synergy that they had in the previous match versus the massive team fight synergy between Ziggs ult. Leona doesn't really have much of a team fight aside from the little stun. The Hecarim Fear, the Ornn ult, that's a huge. They've kind of swapped concepts here, and it'll be interesting to see if it works better for Dawgmar.
Yeah, and as our spectator delay finally ticks down, hopefully we don't have the same spectator bug as last time, but given my luck on broadcast, it probably will happen again. Just want to take a look at the runes and the summoner spells. I always want to say runes and masteries because I am old and I've been playing this game for far too long. Interesting to note that Lissandra has opted for Electrocute here as opposed to the Aftershock that we sometimes see from her.
Grasp on Ornn's okay. I don't know if it's any better than Conqueror.
I think Grasp on Ornn is plenty better. It looks like we are not going to have the spectator bug this time. Huzzah! We'll be getting directly into game. Dawgmar with the full team synergy of the happy bee. Everybody happy to be here, happy to be playing the game.
Especially after that last match.
Oh yeah, especially after a game like that. I don't think they're going to be upset.
I am curious to see if that's going to give them a bit of an overconfidence issue, as it looks like it might. This is gearing up to be an invade defend. Okay, they're not going to try to invade unless they see no.
This is the 5-man stack. They're just playing around the possibility of Dudbro walking in. Now they're walking in themselves. Airtone is going to spot them out. They're just going to drop the ward over top of the red side camp, so they have a bit of vision there. It's not the best placement for the ward. I think they'd rather have it in the actual Raptor camp itself, but they're not going to be upset just getting a bit of extra vision. Important to note this time as well, both supports have their support item. We're already taking W's in this game, in the early game for Dudbro. Well done.
We've got a lot of bees going out.
Plenty of happy bees. Save the bees, protect the bees. FlyQuest did their little bee drive thing. I believe it was a couple seasons ago at this point.
You beely.
That hurt me. That hurt me. Not gonna lie, that hurt my soul. But both these
blue for both.
Yeah, both the junglers are going to be starting on their blue buffs. Interestingly enough, that the Dudbro opted not to start on the bottom side to get that better leash. Ornn going to be a little bit later to lane, but I don't think he's really looking for lane domination anyway, so that's probably fine. Lane domination, though, Naysayer wants in.
Yeah, the Ornn going for his Q first is, of course, natural. It's a great CS tool, surprisingly enough. Does a lot of damage, just enough to basically serve as the last hit. Yeah, really poking this Mord.
Yeah, does enough damage to serve the slow, gets himself the grasp proc before Mordekaiser gets that passive charged up on himself. Both the top laners just trading their Qs across. Mullins is going to be happy auto-attacking away on the Leona until Leona hits too. I will say it is smart. I think that Mullins has opted for the cleanse. Dawgmar has taken the heal. They're playing a very defensive lane here as opposed to the teleport and the ignite coming from Clue and Airtone.
If Dubro does not play safe in this bottom lane, that will result in much the same as last game, where bottom lane's going to become a huge issue for them. Because Vayne has the capacity to rip Ziggs apart if Ziggs gets close enough to them, but Ziggs doesn't need to get close enough to them.
Yeah, Vayne has the capacity to rip anyone apart if she gets close enough to them. Nice trade from Naysayer, really abusing his first strike in this matchup. A little bit of anti-synergy there. Ziggs knocks away Mullins, and Airtone wanted to get in there, but no such luck with the Ziggs bomb knocking her away.
Brutal procs absolutely bullying Chachi OKC.
Yeah, and again, Treyarch has made his way up here to the top side. Both the junglers are opting for that full camp clear. Both of them getting their whole jungle cleared, one from top to bottom, one from bottom to top, and it looks like they're probably just going to be trading the Scuttle Crabs. Maybe Treyarch. Naysayer has walked very far forward. Siren is on 0 HP, though. Has to be a little bit careful. He has no mana on Naysayer, but he's got the flash for the auto. First blood goes to him. The immediate trade back, though. Treyarch picks up the kill. It's going to be about even in terms of gold value with first strike and the first blood gold coming through. Maybe a slight lead for Naysayer, but not by much, as he did have to lose his flash.
This is going to be a slight lead. It's going to be a slight lead for Naysayer, but for gold value, the Olaf might bring it back with this Scuttle if he takes it.
He's not able to. Nice rotation from the Dubro bot lane is going to make sure that the Scuttle Crab goes to Chihuahua Dog. Scuttle Crabs go 1 for 1. It's worth mentioning, though, Siren has teleport, so was able to get back to lane and not lose as many creeps as Naysayer has.
An interesting contrast to this for my games is that in my games, I'm pretty sure the bot lane has deleted their map function, as they never rotate.
But rotation sometimes is hard. Sometimes you're paying a little bit too much attention to like killing the creeps and like getting the gold from them. You don't pay attention to your mini map and you don't look where your teammates are.
That was an
nice interrupt from Chachi. Kovu maybe now in a bit of trouble. I don't know if Chachi has the damage to take him out just yet. He's gonna be happy just laying the auto attacks into him. There's the obliterate. Kovu has to flash away. Chachi happy to take that one away.
Kovu turning around for the W was a problem there. He wouldn't have had to waste his flash. Not waste his flash, he would have died, but he wouldn't have had to use it if he didn't try to poke as he ran away.
Yeah, maybe just a bit of greed from Kovu. Just has already teleported back into lane as well, so he is not in the most comfortable position.
Chihuahua Dog.
Yeah, now Chachi might be the one who's uncomfortable. Chihuahua Dog has made his way up. There's the devastating charge, gets the phase rush proc, and Chachi's gonna go down, saving his own flash, I think, pretty smartly. Airtone, a little bit up, far forward, trades 1 for 1. Siren picks up Airtone. In the meantime, Naysayer gets Treyarch. Chihuahua Dog has rotated down. Naysayer getting a lot of extra damage, but Siren has to flash over the wall to get away from the Hecarim.
I wasn't really paying attention to it, but we actually have a lot of CC on Dubro's team.
Yeah, Jace with his hammer form brings her out plenty of crowd control. The Hecarim and the Leona and the Ornn all going to be bringing plenty of CC for themselves. So I think like you were saying in the draft, the team fight presence from Dubro feels similar to what Dawgmar was drafting in game 1, but now they've taken it for themselves in game 2.
And it's really being felt, as they are now the ones that are infinitesimally ahead.
Yeah, just barely taking a 200 gold lead, 100 gold lead, give or take. The lead is so small that it barely matters. It's going to be shifted back and forth with CS, but Jace getting a couple of early kills, I think, is where Dubro wants their early gold to be.
Leona clearly much more comfortable against this Karma than they were against Braum.
Yeah, Airtone playing this one a little bit more. I do like that early roam. Even though he did die, he was able to make sure that small scuffle in the top side was fully in favor of his team and got Jace those extra kills and burned the Lissandra flash. So good run from Airtone, getting himself out of the lane, letting Ziggs just farm it up happily, not taking too much pressure from the Vayne Karma just yet.
Chayar is managing to pick up the crab there.
Oh, Dawgmar might be in trouble. Chihuahua Dog gets the devastating charge in. Dawgmar's taking so much damage. The Ignite comes down. Airtone takes him down. Now Treyaris going to be the next target. Chihuahua Dog continuing to push forward. Has the Ghost on. Maul's getting the auto attack. So is going to pick that one up. Nice cleanse from him as well to get away from the Leona combo. The Olaf ulti as well is going to be burned to get himself away. And that's a good 1-for-1. That felt like just a bit of over-aggression from Chihuahua Dog.
I would definitely say that 1-for-1 was not worth it. I think giving trading any kill for a Vayne kill is probably a bad trade.
Yeah, especially given that Airtone was the one who got the last hit. That's 300 gold going to the support. And as much as I love you supports, we probably shouldn't be the ones picking up kills.
I'm thinking it might just be a karma issue.
Maybe karma
Overextending.
is just infecting these players' brains and getting them to step a little bit too far forward confidently. But yeah, Dawgmar had the support of his own jungler, so he felt safe. And speaking of feeling safe, Naysayer wants to take the trade. Nice flash forward from Dawgmar. The cleanse comes through to get away from the crowd control, but I think he's just going to get autoed down. Dawgmar, where's the last hit? There it is. Gets himself the shutdown gold. Support takes another kill off the map.
Yes! Support ADC.
Support is the true bot lane carry. Everyone else trying to say otherwise is just an AD carry player.
Well, starting off with a Cloud Drake, easily my least favorite and probably objectively the weakest one.
Since it's been changed around so many times now, it now gives the 3.5% movement speed and slow resistance. Neither of which are going to be super helpful in this game. The extra out of combat movement speed, I'm sure, is going to be nice for rotating to plays or making roams on the map, or even just for Vayne to get from lane to lane to pick up farm. But it's definitely the least impactful of all the dragons.
It just always feels so bad.
It's the early game dragon that you see and you're like, well, we're here. We already won the team fight. I guess we'll take it. It's not the one that you're having the team fight over.
I've heard of a couple of people who will actually willfully ignore a first up Cloud Drake.
Just give it to your opponent so you can stack a more useful dragon.
Right.
Speaking of a more useful dragon, Hextech Dragon is going to be our next one spawning. I think that's probably one of the more useful ones that has recently been added, given that Chemtech Dragon is now gone and dead forever. May it rest not in peace. That dragon was terrible.
They decided that Chemtech was probably a bad idea. Giving an entire team Scion passive seems a little potent.
Yeah, Scion passive without a cooldown turns out to be fairly good. I remember they were testing it in the ultimate spellbook mode, and it had a 5-minute cooldown, and even then it was still very strong. Treyaris has to getting extra pressure, burning the ultimate out of Chihuahua Dog.
Lissandra, while the Lissandra has people here to assist in anti-poking.
Yeah, the counter engage coming from Lissandra is really good. She also brings a fair amount of crowd control. And we're just seeing Clue happy to farm away in this bottom lane as Airtone roams around the map and tries to support his team. Charis is going to spot him out. Chachi maybe trying to pull him into the death realm here. Siren wants over the wall into Naysayer. In the meantime, Airtone has to flash the wall.
Excellent flash.
Naysayer is just deleted off the map. Treyaris and Siren delete him while Airtone was stuck in the death realm. A good flash to get away, but it's still 1-for-0 in favor of Dawgmar.
There's a lucky death realm for Airtone. If the death realm had been slightly to the right, that flash would have been completely useless.
Yeah, really good presence of mind from Airtone to not give away another kill. Just burn the flash, keep himself safe. I do like, since he's roaming so often, he's already picked up the mobility boots, just trying to be on the map as much as possible. Let Ziggs keep farming. The CS discrepancy in the spot lane is near minimal as this wave comes through, and Clue's going to be able to farm it up. It should even out to be about the same.
Definitely a good call for it. There's not much that Ziggs would be able to do if Leona were there. They have to play.
Here's the call of the Forge God. Kovu wants in on Chachi. Chihuahua Dog is here. Kovu taken very low, maybe being a little too over-aggressive, but he's going to be able to walk away. Grant that kill over to his jungler for free.
Taking Grump, it's free.
Yeah, jungler's on the top side of the map. Don't mind if I diddly do take this Grump from you as they wait for the wave to get pushed into themselves. I feel like they probably could have walked up aggressively more to that wave, given that they knew Chihuahua Dog was on the top side of the map, but it's a little bit of extra gold in Vayne's pockets. You're never going to be upset about that one.
I think the main thing was probably the heal. Because that Ziggs was doing some heavy damage to him already, and Ziggs doesn't even have any.
Airtone has made his way mid. There's the Zen to play the full combo. Siren not allowed to play the game. Treyaris pops the Stride Breaker, trying to get damage down on the Naysayer. He misses the axe. Crucially, Naysayer gets to walk out of here. Airtone's the target, but I don't actually think they have the damage to kill this Leona. Really nice roam from Airtone, and a little bit of an overstep from Siren.
This is a bloody mid lane. I think
This is
almost every single death has been in or around this mid.
Yeah, it's been the mid lane in the river show. Every fight has been near these areas, just not actually in the lanes themselves. Most teams just rotating up. And with the early herald that was taken by Dawgmar, it looks like they're going to be able to take down this full mid tower and
That is
inject a
huge.
lot of gold into Vayne.
They're
Yeah,
not going to be
despite
able to turn it into a 2-hit for the Rift, unfortunately. Those are always
what
exciting.
that is a pre 14-minute tower, which means that all the platings go down along with first tower blood. Airtone has found Dawgmar on his own. The Ziggs bomb over the top. Airtone gets the last auto attack through. Supportal combat with the assist for the bottom lane carry.
This is looking at these stats. Ziggs has decided to farm creeps, and Leona has decided to farm champions.
Speaking of farming champions, Treyarch wants in, but a nice satchel charge from Clue I think is going to keep his support safe. So much disruption comes from this Ziggs pick. The minefield, the AoE of the super mega death bomb, super mega inferno bomb. That's the one. I always mix that one up with the super mega death rocket from Jake's. But even a super mega death, Siren has to flash away, but a nice onslaught of shadows is going to secure the super mega death with a little bit of delay from the glacial tomb. Naysayer going to pick up that extra 300 gold for himself.
Well, I understand why you would Glacial Tomb there.
Oh, Airtone wants in. Nice cleanse from Mullins. He wants in on Chihuahua Dog, though. Flashes forward aggressively. Naysayer is here. In the meantime, Airtone is just getting beaten in the back by Treyarch. Picked up. There's the call of the Forge God. Kova's going to go a little wide on that one, not finding the knockup on anybody. Trying to push the aggression more forward, but there's nothing to be found.
I don't think they even could have pushed up that much. Hecarim would have wanted to push up, and that would have been bad for them as Vayne hits him 3 times and gets another kill.
Yeah, this Vayne, I think that was, again, a bit of over-aggression from Mullins. It was a really nice cleanse, but flash forward into the Hecarim, again, aggressively, which seems to be the key word for Mullins today, but wasn't able to find anything. So that is just really a flash lost as these teams are starting to fight over the Hextech Dragon. Good teleport from Chachi is going to secure the Dragon for his team, keep Kovu and Airtone out of the pit. And with the second dragon taken, that is an Infernal Soul map picked up for Dawgmar as they are 2 dragons away from getting the soul itself.
With a secondary Hextech is going to be scary on that Vayne.
On the other side, though, because Dudbro have lost both these dragons, if they can start to pick themselves up in this game and start to get themselves in the lead, that's a lot of offensive stats for Jace and for Ziggs, and I don't think either of them will be upset picking up a few Infernal Dragons.
I think even Hecarim and Ornn's damage could not be ignored with that. Ornn does a lot of max health damage, and that scales off of his AP and AD.
As long as he's got the AP and the AD actually built in there, yeah, but it doesn't... An increase on 0 is still 0, so I'll have to build some kind of... Maybe we'll see the Demonic Embrace come out. I've been seeing a lot of tanks build that item specifically, as it is fairly gold efficient and fairly valuable. I don't know if Ornn is one of those tanks, but we'll have to wait and see. Bit of a scuffle in the jungle. Treyarch misses the smite, which means Chihuahua Dog is going to get that the blue buff for himself. And now Treyarch has to burn the Ragnarok for himself. A nice Death Realm from Chachi is going to secure his jungler's escape to freedom, but he might lose his own life for it. Maybe he can pick up Chihuahua Dog, but the Hecarim's just a little too quick. Is able to walk out of there. Chachi gets knocked over the wall, then double flash comes through from Naysayer and Kovu, and Naysayer gets the last hit.
That was almost a great pick. But luckily, they still managed to prevent the shutdown gold from being achieved.
Yeah, that was almost a lot of things in that play. It was almost a really clean pick on Treyarch. It was almost a really clean disengage from Chachi, and it was almost a really clean kill onto Chachi. But a lot of comedy of errors happened there. The double flash over the wall, Hecarim escaping with 1 HP. Just a bit of an upset from all sides.
Probably still a net win though, preventing the Olaf from being shut down by any of those individuals will be a problem. If Kovu gets a level lead, that'll make all of his team significantly more powerful.
Yep. I do like the Dudbro team synergy. All four of the non-support players have opted to say, yeah, this tier item, it's pretty good. All of them on a fair amount of stacks at this point in the game. And once those items get finished up, it's going to be a lot of damage and a lot of tank stats for all of them.
Probably going to see a Fimbulwinter out of Ornn, and then maybe a Seraphs from Ziggs.
Nice ulti combination from the top laner and the support of Dawgmar, or Dudbro, sorry, wrong side. I'm still in the last game. Mullins, in the meantime, also in the last game, playing aggressively into Clue. Just getting the auto attacks down, lethal tempo stack. There's nowhere for Clue to go. Flash burn, but he's still dead.
Airton is the carry. Let's go. Leona kills.
Leona keeps getting more kills, which is not the best spot, but at the same time, there's also a lot of kills on Naysayer, which is pretty good. Chihuahua Dog wants to make something happen here. Onslaught of Shadows finds the fear on the Mullins, but again, another great cleanser of him, not letting himself get caught out. He's used these cleanses perfectly throughout the course of this game, and he's just going to be able to stay safe off of it.
Not much chance for the Ziggs to ult, unfortunately. It's a very potent ult when he can land it. But they're just managing to be too mobile for him.
Looking for the dive. Chachi's going to take a lot of damage, but Treyarch is tanking the tower for his teammate, which means he's going to take a lot of damage. Steris is going to pop, but he's going to be able to walk out of there just fine. Very well executed dive.
Fantastic tower dive.
Pick up the aggro, you do a lot of damage with the Mordekaiser. No real outplay opportunity for Naysayer. Second Rift Herald is up, and it looks like Dawgmar may have overstepped his bounds. And no cleanse for him. Means Airton's gonna get another kill this game. 4-2 on the Leona. He's massive. Siren's over the wall, though. Looking for the re-engage for his team. Mullins getting the auto attacks in. He has no cleanse this time. A great solar flare from Leona means that he's gonna get picked up. Shut down. Goes over to Leona again. Chachi pulls Clue into the death realm, and I don't think the Ziggs has anywhere to go. Chachi picks up the kill for himself. Leona, man, look, I love you. Supports are great, but please give these kills to your teammates.
This is not Leona picking up the mythic, but pretty much just keeping pace with gold for
Tofu. Call of the Forge God is over the wall, but I don't think there's any re-engage to find. Naysayer has finally made it back to the fight after his pick on the bottom side, dealing a lot of damage to Chachi. Doesn't have any tank stats from the Death Realm. Gonna get picked up. Nice Ragnarok from Treyarch to get himself out of there after picking up the Rift Herald. Oh, Naysayer's over the wall, though. He might want blood. He doesn't have his flash just yet. There's the light still coming through. There's no damage coming through. That means Treyarch is gonna pick up that kill. Dawgmar wants Airtone here. Chihuahua Dog's over the wall, though. Mullins pops the final hour, wants to get in. Here's the damage coming through from Airtone and from Chihuahua Dog. All the crowd control coming through. No cleanse for you means Mullins goes down. Dawgmar's now the next target, but I think he's going to be able to walk out of here just fine. Nice sidestep on the shock blast. But again, Mullins, overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer, and he is getting killed repeatedly.
Looks like we're not going to have a clean sweep of Drakes this time.
No, the first Infernal Dragon is going to go over to Dudbro, and we were talking about it. Infernal stacking for a Ziggs, for a Jace, for a Hecarim. They're not upset about it.
That can be you can turn Hecarim into a much harder bruiser real quick.
Oh, Airtone wants his way in on Dawgmar again, trying to get revenge for last game, but now he's the one who's overstepped. The Ignite is not going to kill Dawgmar, gets a shield for himself, and this is just supports giving everything back and forth.
This was a great ult by Ziggs. I was really pleased to see that.
Important also to note that Leona had shutdown gold. Just gave a decent amount over there. What happens when you pick up all the kills is you do get shutdown gold, and when you're playing Leona, you're gonna die sometimes. It's not like a Braum where you're pretty safe. You're gonna go in, and unless your team is stupidly far ahead, you're gonna die.
This Mordekaiser is really feeling the fact that he just doesn't have any mana.
Yeah, he's able to press up for free, and with the Rift Maker in inventory, he's got the health sustain as well. It's a happy spot for Mordekaiser to be, despite the scoreline of 2-0 or 2-4. He's pretty happy with his position in this game. Speaking of mana, it looks like it's going to be a fight over the blue buff again. Chihuahua Dog picks up that one, so he's going to be okay, but he's going to lose his Gromp for it, sadly.
We're getting close to the stage where Ornn's really going to start making a difference, whether he's in team fights or not, because he's about to hit level 14.
Once he hits that level 13 mark, he'll have his own mythic upgraded, and once he hits 14, he'll also be able to upgrade his teammates' mythics, and that's when the real power of the pick comes through. I give him about 2 minutes until he hits that point, maybe 3, depending on how slow he farms, but yeah, Dudbro are happy to just let this game keep going later. Chachi pulls Chihuahua Dog into the Death Realm. Nice ult over the wall is going to keep Chihuahua Dog safe. Again, these walls just absolutely outplaying Mordekaiser, but Treyarch wants in. Dawgmar flashes the wall as well to be with this team. Chihuahua Dog goes down, but a nice re-engage. Airtone gets another kill for himself onto Dawgmar. Treyarch is now left alone. Big shutdown gold. Goes over to Naysayer. Really nice, clean re-engage from Dudbro, and they're finding their way back into this game.
Chachi OKC pretty easily making it out during that fight. Came in, got his kill, and left.
But he lost 2 teammates for it, and one of those teammates had 750 gold to give over to the Jace, which is not exactly the person you want to be giving extra money over to.
I can definitely foresee this Ornn going for that Eclipse upgrade first.
Yeah, I think that definitely has to be the first one. And as Ornn hits the 13 mark, Sunfire Cape is going to upgrade into Forge Fire, something or other. I don't know the Ornn names that well, but it's a bit more beef stats for him, along with the passive upgrade, which means he's going to start scaling even harder.
He is being out CS'd by more. There's a huge CS disparity in that jungle, as well as a kill disparity. So jungle, Olaf is probably objectively stronger than Hecarim right now, aside from that he doesn't really have any CC.
Yeah, we're getting to the point of the game where Olaf is going to start falling off and really is going to be relying on Karma to make him tankier than he actually looks. The Sterax plus the Karma Shields is really going to be all that he's able to rely on it to keep himself alive. But his damage is going to start falling off fairly soon. The Stridebreaker is going to bring a little bit of CC. That extra slow is pretty nice, but still not enough to really match the team fight crowd control output that Hecarim has.
As his damage goes off, he doesn't have any utility to back it up, and as opposed to Hecarim, who has some really solid utility. A lot of moving people around against their will.
Yeah, it turns out AoE team fight fear, pretty good.
Pretty good. It's one reason why Fiddle Jungle's so potent.
Fiddle's not a champion that I've been seeing enough of recently. That champion is terrifying, especially in the I would say the lower skilled areas where we don't get as many wards down and don't have as much vision control, as opposed to pro play where they have 20 different wards down at any time and have full control of the map always.
He's terrifying to play against, you say?
Yeah, it is his whole gimmick. He is like the demon personification of fear, something like that.
He is the first demon, as a matter of fact, the most potent one in all of Runeterra lore.
The first of 10, if I'm remembering my lore. It's been a minute since I've read the Fiddlesticks lore stories, but
it used to be something stupid, and then they changed it to where it wasn't something stupid anymore.
Yeah, Zoe stole his key, which is an important lore detail that we haven't heard anything about. Mm-hmm. But speaking of important details, Infernal Dragon is up in 15 minutes, and Dudbro have full control of the pit. Kovu also hit level 14, which means Naysayer is going to get his Eclipse upgraded. And that's a lot of damage coming out from this Jace. These shock blasts are terrifying, but it looks like Dawgmar
We've decided that the Drake is not important.
Yeah, they're happy enough to just give up this second dragon and are going to look to instead push down the base. They've got the inside track. Dudbro has to recall and teleport themselves back into the base. This inhib tower is going to go down for certain. Actually, no, it's not going to go down. A nice defense from Kovu. Oh, no, the blast plane is going to keep Dawgmar inside. Siren, poor Siren, taken down, abandoned by his team. I think Chachi's going to find himself in the same spot, and that is 2 kills given over to Dudbro. Baron's up. I feel like that's got to be the turn.
That was... that's 2 Infernals, and they got to keep their tower, and 2 kills. They're getting a lot of damage out.
Yeah, not losing the inhibitor tower is such a huge deal. And now Treyarch might be the one caught out. Doesn't have Ragnarok for himself. He pops the Ghost, but I think the crowd control is going to be a little too much. Naysayer picks that one up. And now with no smite, that has to be the Baron for Dudbro.
I can't recall, but I believe right now we're seeing 8% bonus AP and AD for the team across the board, which is not an inconsiderable amount.
Yeah, Infernal Dragon, the extra 4% that comes from each dragon is fairly good, and it's going to really increase the gold, the value of the gold that's coming out of Dudbro. So even though with this Baron buff, they're still 1,500 gold behind it's probably closer to even, given Ornn's mythic item upgrades increasing the gold value of the items, given the Infernal Dragon just increasing the gold value of the damage items, and Mullins wants in, has to flash away from the Solar Flare from Leona. Siren wants in as well. Nice crowd control combo onto Clue, shutdown. Give it over to Siren, but Mullins isn't done yet. He wants more. Kovu's going to find his way out of that one with
Siren
Flash.
a little vindicative with the the Ziggs kill. Siren's not very happy about what just happened to him.
Yeah, definitely wanted revenge for the previous team fight. But with the second mythic upgrade coming soon, I would hope, from Kovu. I can't tell if that on cooldown Chemtech is the upgraded one. I'm kind of hoping that it is. Otherwise, I would love to see Ziggs get the next upgrade. But yeah, we're hitting the part of the game where Ornn's only getting stronger.
It's a Serpent's Fang came out pretty much only to deal with Mord and Karma Shield.
Yeah, I think into Karma, Serpent's Fang has plenty of value. The stats on the item are fairly decent, and if you can just keep a couple hundred shields off, it can make Olaf a lot less tanky with the Karma shields, with the Stair Axe, and with Mordekaiser's shields as well.
Most importantly, I believe we're seeing a Lord Dominix coming out of Jace soon, and that is really going to amp his damage.
There's that second mythic item upgrade going over to the Ziggs. I wonder actually if he will go for the Cyrildas as opposed to the Lord Dominix. The health bars on the side of Dawgmar aren't big enough, I would say, where he wants to give up the slow from that item, and it really pumps Jace's damage. Ooh, speaking of Jace damage, Siren is going to be forced away from the wave. Lots of damage coming out from this Jace.
Ziggs using his favorite satchel charge to just delete a tower that's under 25%.
Ooh, another shock blast. Dawgmar's under half. Mullins is under half. Takes the Mega Inferno Bomb to the face and has to recall with his shield bow being popped. This is starting to be a disaster for Dawgmar.
He got another one off, hitting Treoris. Everyone's below half.
Yeah, Kovu happy enough to pressure the top side as well while his team pushes down mid lane. Chachi is going to be here to respond, but this is a pretty large Baron wave. I don't think Kovu would be even unhappy fighting in this, as the tower is going to finally go down. Chachi picked up the aggro, but I imagine the tower will just get autoed down eventually. There it goes.
Deciding a recall instead of engage on this Mord. If they go on, they didn't get the opportunity to go on Naso.
It is insane to think that even after this Baron push, even after all the towers that Dudbro have picked up, technically still they are behind in gold, even though in terms of like value that the game has like given them through the Infernal Dragons, the Ornn item upgrades, they're technically ahead in terms of value. The gold numbers are still behind for them.
The Drake, everyone's getting ready to get situated for it.
Yeah, this is not a dragon that Dawgmar wants to give up. They're starting to realize that they're getting outscaled. They want to get themselves to Soul Point. They were happy to trade just that second dragon over, but once you hit that third and that fourth, it becomes really dangerous.
We had Dawgmar recalling so they could come back full. Siren probably should have, but instead they're going to take Gromp to see what health they can scavenge.
Yeah, just get a little bit more health on the Lissandra. She can always ult herself in the middle of the team fight just to bring out the AoE slow and just bring a bit of extra damage in, keep herself safe for a little bit longer. But yeah, it feels like Dudbro really has full control over this game as Dawgmar is forced to walk away. I think Siren had a bit of a computer issue there as he disconnected, and we are going to be paused for hopefully not too long, but this is a very important team fight, so a player disconnecting, worth pausing for.
We have... In terms of who controls the river right now, we've got Dudbro, who is pretty handily superior in this instance.
Yeah, on the screen right now, you can see their ward line from that river brush on the mid lane side all the way over to where blue buff sits. You can see just wards across the board for Dudbro. They do not want any chance of Treoris getting in here and looking for a smite. They just want to secure this dragon and walk away.
But Treoris can ghost and Ragnarok in. He can quickly get in there. They might not have the opportunity to kill him if they can't smite it down fast enough.
He does have the Death Stance, which I think is an incredibly smart pickup. That item, since its recent changes with the fighter item changes, is probably one of the best items in the game. 30% damage reduction, and if you get a kill, you get a bunch of health back, and the damage stops coming through. It's very good. Mullins maybe a little bit too far forward on his own. Gets the ulti off onto himself. There's the cleanse, but there's no team follow-up. Mullins is frontlining as Vayne. Nice Solar Flare to pick up 2 stuns. That's 2 kills for Dudbro. Mullins, what are you doing, man? You're not a Fed Tristani. You can't be frontlining.
I was wondering if that was going to happen, if the output from, or if the performance from the previous game was going to affect their playstyle here, and it very clearly is, as Mullins is
Ooh.
playing very confidently when they don't have as much a right to be.
Yeah, this is a two-item Vayne. He's definitely strong, but you are a Vayne. You cannot be frontlining the same way Tristana is. You can't get that jump reset. You have invisibility, you have cleanse, but cleanse can't cleanse death.
And then we've got Jace, who can pretty much two-shot everyone but Olaf and Mord.
Yeah, now with the Cyrildas, he can probably get close to two-shotting them with the extra armor pen coming through from that item. It feels like Dudbro are just taking the extra towers that are along the that are left on the map as they continue to press their advantage forward.
Interestingly enough, for 16, Ornn has decided to buff Leona instead of Hecarim.
Yeah, I guess because Leona got so much gold, maybe he was fooled into thinking that Leona was actually the carry in this game, and maybe the person who was like more important to keep alive than the Hecarim. It is a choice. Just like Chihuahua Dog's choice to have the QSS in this situation, I think it's good to have him. Oh my God, Mullins!
Well, you have to keep in mind, QSS does dispel more.
It dispels the Mordekaiser ult, so that's probably why he has it, just so he can't be pulled into the Death Realm for an important objective. But he's going to set him back 1,300 gold, which when he's only sitting on 2 items, that's a fair amount to set yourself back.
That's a lot to just counter Immortal.
Yeah, there's no real other way to do it besides just surviving in the Death Realm. And against Chachi with his 3-item power spike now, it's probably kind of difficult to do.
But what I believe is, instead of hoping to buff the Leona, he was hoping to buff the item itself, because it's a very potent, I believe that is a shield across the board.
Yeah, shield across the board, along with just the passive giving teammates in an AoE extra armor and MR as long as they are within a certain distance of you. So all of your dive buddies are going to be a bit harder to kill as well. Again, just like last game, I would not say that Dawgmar is out of it, even though the reins are certainly in Dudbro's hands. They have the ability to counter engage as long as they can actually protect Mullins, and Mullins doesn't run out screaming into the middle of the field. If they can keep him alive, he can output a ton of damage into these tanks.
It's a much closer game than it was previously.
Yeah,
with only a 3K difference.
For most of the early game, it felt like it was Dawgmar's, but the scaling advantage has come through from Dudbro. Jace has hit level 16. He has his own QSS. Kovu has hit 16. He's got a couple of Ornn item upgrades, which means he's insanely tanky. He's sitting on near, I think, 4,000 HP. He is strong. The gold value is just coming through from everybody. This Jace is so far ahead of Siren. That's 4,000 gold just in the mid lane alone.
Well, that's the entire lead, is Jace.
That is the gold lead. That's actually more than the gold lead, as Dudbro are only about 3,000 over Dawgmar right now. So the leads from the rest of Dawgmar coming through to nearly overpower the Jace lead in his lane alone.
I believe Mord is technically slightly ahead of Ornn.
If only just barely, but Ornn has a lot of assists, even though he doesn't have as much farm. He's about 50 down, if I'm doing my math right. Quick math. Oh, Dawgmar's just going to get picked up and deleted. There's that second shot from Jace, and now Dudbro want to engage the fight. Call of the Forge God is just a bit too far out for everyone to follow up on, but with the support being picked out, there's no real way for Dawgmar to engage, and I think that means just a free Baron for the side of Dudbro.
As we predicted, Jace getting to the point where he can just two-shot people.
Yeah, Jace has hit the 4 items, and once he finishes the QSS item, I think the Silvermere Dawn, if he goes for the just flat AD version of it, he's only going to be stronger.
He might.
Yeah, there it is. He bought the Silvermere Dawn. He's on a full item build at 34 minutes with what's about to be a 4th Infernal Dragon for himself if Dudbro get here in time. This Jace is terrifying because this is about to be 16% extra AD and AP, along with the actual Infernal Dragon's effect of the little AoE spark of damage.
What? I don't know if it can be considered a spark. It's like 300 damage.
Yeah, the little extra burst of damage that comes through from the actual Infernal Dragon proc. There's the engage from Airtone. Nice Ragnarok from Treyarch, not letting himself get crowd controlled. Honestly, I think the passive on Ragnarok is probably more useful than the actual active of it itself right now, just giving Treyarch more armor and MR so he can be a bit tankier in the front line and try to survive this poke a bit more. But again, Dudbro just has control of the pit. There's no way for them to get in. Kovu's gonna lock down, they'll call it the Forge God. There's the CC down onto Siren. Nice Zonius for himself. Mullins is getting the free autos. This is the team fight that they wanted. Chachi finds the shutdown onto Naysayer, somehow winning on the side. Chihuahua Dog is gonna pick him up, and Mullins has been free autoing this entire time into Kovu. He's got the Ginsus, he's popping off. He steps forward to Chihuahua Dog. There's the autos coming through, but the shielding is coming through. Dawgmar can't keep him safe for long enough. A double kill for Clue. Siren maybe looking for his way in with the low health bars, but Clue still full HP. I think is going to be happy to zone them off this dragon. Such a close fight for how far ahead Dudbro was. But it's not done just yet. Kovu not over just yet. Siren being shielded away. He's going to take himself back over the wall. Kovu maybe a little bit preempted, but Clue picks him up with the bomb, and I think that's going to confirm the final Infernal Dragon for Dudbro.
Mullins just getting too confident in their abilities, getting too close to melee heroes.
Yeah, Mullins was looking so good in that team fight for a lot of that. He was able to get the free hits on Airtone. He was able to free hit Kovu as well, but when he stepped just that bit too far forward, a fantastic punish from Dudbro, Chihuahua, and Clue just coming forward to delete him.
Does not have the tankiness to survive Ziggs or especially Naysayer. It was excellent they got the Jace out of the way as fast as they did, but unfortunately it didn't matter for him.
I do think that it's interesting that Mullins has opted for Bork third, and it looks like he's going for the Randuin's fourth item, unless that is a Frozen Heart, which I guess it could be. But no magic resist in this build against the Ziggs Leona lane feels like it could be a bit of a disaster for him once Clue starts getting these bombs on him.
Especially now that Ziggs has got his Horizon down. And it looks like...
Oh yeah. God, Siren taking down to 0 HP. The Mega Inferno Bomb over the top. There was nowhere for him to go. He was checkmated. The College of Forge God and the Inferno Bomb combined, just not giving him any space to move. And with the mid laner being down, it's now 4 versus 5 as this first inhibitor is going to fall. Chachi's looking for a flank option here, but it feels like his team is not in a position to capitalize on it. As Dudbro are just going to move as 5 towards this bottom lane. The wave isn't even there yet, but they can probably just sit and tank it.
It's nearly a 2 times difference in kills.
Yeah, suddenly Dudbro, over the course of this game, the gold lead now near 6,000 in their favor, a little bit more than that. Mullins
is doing just a disrespectful amount of damage to towers.
Yeah, this is a full item Jace with a full Infernal board for himself. We were talking about this at minute 15. Mullins has popped the final hours, looking for the auto attacks in. Kovu may be caught out a bit. Mega Inferno Bomb is going to be dodged out by most of the members. Kovu gets picked up. Death Realm goes Clue. He's going to get beat up a bit by the Mordekaiser. Treyarch is in, but he gets deleted. Nice fear from Chihuahua Dog is going to keep the whole team down. Clue finally goes down. Mullins does finally go down to the bombs that Clue left over. It's a double kill for Chihuahua Dog, but Naysayer is still alive. Chachi, I don't think is going to have the damage to finish this one out. It's a valiant last stand for the Mordekaiser, but it is a final one at that, as Naysayer is just going to be able to pick him up with these last shots. Chihuahua Dog plays a little dangerously, but he gets the kill for himself, and I think that's going to be the game.
Yes, the problem here was definitely the fact that a team with an Ornn managed to get 4 Infernals.
Yeah, the late game scaling team getting 4 Infernal Dragons and Jace, who, well, doesn't fall off as hard in the late game as he used to, given how good Cyrildas is and how good Eclipse is, still is not like a late game monster champion. Really got to have his late game accelerated with all of the gold that he had, all of these Infernal Dragons.
And everyone else was in the mid-game.
He gets his revenge on Airtone, but it is going to be the game 2 going to Dudbro, and we've got a series on our hands. Now we are going to be taking a short break as we go into a short break before we step into game 3. We've got a series on our hands. Dudbro clapping back in game 2. We'll have to see if they can keep up the momentum into this game 3. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody. We got a bit of a banger series on our hands tonight. Dawgmar versus Dudbro Gaming. Dawgmar came out to a screaming lead in game one, but Dudbro hit back hard in game two, and now we are on our final game of the night. As Dawgmar and Dudbro are in the pick band, the Jace taken away from Naysayer. I can't say I'm surprised. And Dudbro not wanting to give up the Zeri or the Hecarim. It looks like they're thinking about banning that one away this time around.
We've changed up the bands a little bit.
Yeah, the band's being slightly different this time around, as the Trundle is the hover for Dawgmar. We saw Dudbro pick it up in game one, although it didn't look super influential. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in this do with it in this game three. But important to note that the Lux has made it through. Maybe Dawgmar wants to pick that one up for Dawgmar and give him the support matchup in the mid lane.
I'm interested to see what our secondary bans are here if they're going to keep banning. That is a neat choice.
Diego has not been seen this series so far, but it's going to be picked up for Dudbro, a good tank counter champion and something that Trundle is going to, I would argue, struggle a bit into, even with his fantastic 1v1 dueling powers. If Diego gets to snowball, the game goes out of hand quick.
Well, if anyone gets to snowball and then Viego gets to kill them, the game gets out of hand quick.
Yeah, Viego's definitely has the potential for comebacks, and if you let him play the game the way he wants, Viego is Viego, and
Well,
Airtone
keep in
is going to
mind,
get...
he doesn't just get the kit, he gets the items as well of whoever he's possessing. So if you have
Yeah,
a
and with...
fed, you got a fed person on your team, suddenly they have the fed person on their team.
Yeah, maybe Mullins gets really fed in this game too, but suddenly goes a bit overconfident, steps a bit forward, and Diego comes in with the Heartbreaker and has now a 4-item AD carry. But instead, it is going to be
Oh,
the Leona again for Airtone and the Seraphine for Dawgmar this time around,
I
as it
hope
was
that's not
banned
a support
away.
pick.
It was banned away in game two. I would love to see it in the mid lane here. I think it's a great team fighting champion. It's a
Seraphine is
decent...
a good mid lane and one of the worst supports you can pick in the meta.
She's a fairly like below average enchanter. I think Sona does her job a bit better, which I think is a bit poignant as
Definitely
Sona
a
was...
mid lane then.
Yeah, Sona was the champion that she was called into quote unquote replace, but now with the Rel lock in, I guess technically it could be Mullins on the Seraphine, but I don't think we expect to see that one.
No. This is an interesting pick. We hardly ever see a Rel anywhere.
Yeah, Rel has not been seeing much play recently. She's one of my favorite supports to actually play once your team is not incredibly far behind and you have a team that can play around your engages. It's like Leona, but taken to the extreme, where you have a lot of crowd control, you have a lot of disruption, but once you're in, there's no going out.
You're just there, especially with your 270 base move speed.
Yeah, and with the Syndra locked in for Dudbro in the mid lane, it looks like we have both sides matching each other with jungle support and mid, which means that the bans looks like are going to be focused more on the Galio?
Mid in the case
Yeah.
of him.
The Galio ban, I think, is an interesting one because that makes me think that Seraphine might actually be a bot lane pick for Dawgmar, but I think that would be a very big change of form from them over the course of these past three games. Dudbro is also going to ban away the Graves, which I think is very easily a top lane focused ban. Dawgmar, smart ban on the Ziggs, not letting Clue get his hands on that one again, and Gwen is going to go into Dudbro's hands.
Going back to their roots.
Yeah, that Gwen from game one that looks like it could have gotten away with the game, just wasn't able to get far enough ahead.
I'm really interested to see how that. Wait a minute.
It looks like we're getting the reverse run back of the top lane matchup.
We've got Trundle and Set again.
Yeah, Chachi and Treyarch with the Trundle in the set this time around, but the Gwen no Hecarim this time for Kovu and Chihuahua Dog.
I'm really interested to see how Rel performs because Rel's a neat concept as a support. It's unfortunate that Riot just appears to have forgotten about her the moment she was released.
Yeah, she hasn't gotten a lot of love, and it's really sad. Mullins is on the Tristana again. This is I would say kind of similar to the support style that the Rel bring, or that the Braum brings, where you have pretty strong engage, but an even stronger counter engage or re-engage from the Rel.
I would almost argue that pretty much across the board, Braum is a stronger support than Rel.
Yeah, right now Braum definitely is. If Rel gets a bit more love, maybe. But with the Ziggs being banned away, Dudbert was going to pick up the Misfortune instead. It's a return to form for Dawgmar as opposed to their game two comp that was a bit more individually focused. This is decidedly a team fighting comp.
We've got really recent Riot and really late Riot with this team comp with the Syndra, Leona, and MF.
Yeah, Syndra Leona MF is a
Some old
scarily
heroes.
potent combo.
We have Jane Burst Mage, the original mid laner, Syndra. She's got one gimmick, and it's you die now. I hit R.
I press QR, you disappear. And with how aggressive Mullins has been playing in these games, I'm a little worried to see him match up into Syndra, into Gwen. I think if he plays like he did in game 1 and 2, especially without the lead that he had in game 1, this game could be all over very fast.
I believe that Airtone has decided that they are a lot more comfortable with Leona than Karma. They did perform significantly better, but if we have Airtone come in and steal all of MF's kills again, we can have a real problem on our hands.
Yeah, there was a slight issue last game with Leona getting a lot of the kills, and that
like
does tend to
5
happen
and
when you're
2.
playing Leona.
But of course, as a support main myself, I understand stealing kills is sometimes necessary for the greater good.
We don't call it stealing, we call it securing the team a gold lead. But this time around, hopefully Misfortune can get our hands on a few of those kills. But I think the Dawgmar comp is probably the more interesting one to talk about. That combination of Rel and Seraphine, that disgusting amount of teamfight crowd control, on top of a Tristana free hitting or a set adding even more crowd control on top of that. This game could run away from Dudbro if this team fight gets off the ground.
The team fight ults, I would say, are pretty balanced. These team compositions are very similar.
Seraphine getting the multi-man charm, Rel getting the magnet storm in to pull them all into the charm, as opposed to Misfortune getting the combination with the solar flare from Leona with the bullet time, adding in a lot of extra damage.
It is, of course, theoretical. What I foresee happening is Rel goes for her ult, and then Syndra just kills her. I think because
Although if Syndra's using her
really
burst combo on Rel, that means that Mullins is not getting one shot, which I would say is a win for Dawgmar
that means that
overall.
Mullins is not getting one shot by Syndra. Instead, Mullins is getting one shot by Viego or MF.
Or Leona, depending on how strong they get.
10-1 Leona, let's go. Airtone carry.
Airtone gets all of the kills this laning phase, and Leona gets a Sunfire Cape and a Titanic Hydra, and suddenly is a monster in lane and can't die. I doubt it'll happen, but we saw what Naysayer could do.
Possible.
We saw what Naysayer could do on a carry champion last time around with the Jace. We'll have to see if he can pull a similar kind of burst out of his pocket with the Syndra. Syndra definitely a bit shorter range, but I think the burst is slightly more potent.
I've had many times where my stun duration against a Syndra was exactly the same as my lifetime.
Yeah, that's generally how it happens with Syndra. If she gets ahead and she presses Q, E, and R, you're looking at a gray screen.
Surprise! You get to see in grayscale now.
Yep, you're gonna sit in grayscale for the next 20 seconds, watch your teammates potentially win the fight, as Syndra really is all about that ulti combo with her extra balls. But aside from that, she doesn't bring a ton of zone control or crowd control to the table. She really is about that one rotation burst, like you said, the original burst mage.
It is Jane Burst Mage.
As opposed to someone like Seraphine, who, if they build AP, can bring a bit of burst to the table, but also has a lot of really good team fight crowd control with her ultimate, and also team sustain with that W, the extra singing coming through, giving that team that a bit of extra vitality. If they go for like a Moonstone build, if they're trying to play really cheeky, just trying to be an extra bit of utility for the team.
I'm really surprised that in this series we didn't see a support top lane.
I'm kind of glad we didn't, as it is getting hard nerfed on the next patch. Thankfully,
Yes.
Riot has looked at it and said, this is not the most fun way for people
You're
to
not
play
supposed
the
to play
game.
like this. This isn't how this is supposed to happen. Objective bounties were clearly an error. Because I'm sure you know why support top lane even became a thing.
Yeah, it was the combination of just the support running around the map could snowball lanes out of control, but as well as they were so far down in gold that objective madness came out for the team that was,
Not
in
even
terms of
behind.
map state, winning.
Yeah. So it was basically just, okay, I'll let a top laner freeform, and in return, I'll be everywhere else. So the top laner realistically can't freeform, because that means that their mid is either going up against a 2-man or their bots against a tri-lane. So
Yeah,
that
but
was
with the nerfs coming in next patch, I don't expect we'll be seeing that strategy as much anymore. Whether it's in solo queue or in pro play, patch comes out tomorrow. It'll be hopefully done and gone forever.
very excited for that patch.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting changes in that patch, but we are living on the timeline of patch 12.3, which means that we are not there just yet. We could have seen the smite top laners. Glad we didn't, because those are annoying to cast. But instead, we have a good old classic teamfight composition from both sides, with the potential for split pushing from the Set and the Gwen. It feels like we're watching game 1 all over again, except both sides have drafted for the AoE teamfight.
Yes, it's a much more even draft. They haven't decided to go for one way or another. But I did notice that it seems that whichever team went for the more AoE oriented, team fight oriented draft won, as was the case with game 1 and 2, which I was kind of wondering was what was going to happen.
Yeah, I would have to give the AoE, in terms of crowd control, a definite advantage to Dawgmar, but in terms of damage, it's probably in favor of Dudbro. So this one is a lot closer in terms of these styles matching together. I don't think either team has what I would say is a definitive draft lead. I think it's going to be all about execution in game.
I don't know that Rel has the survivability to get close enough to utilize her ult effectively, especially with how small it is.
As long as she can hit Flash WR on 2 or 3 targets, that's a good Rel ulti.
Mhm. But it's no Braum ulti or Ornn ult.
It's no Ornn ulti, but it is fairly good in combination with the Seraphine ulti, which I think is going to be the main team fighting tool for Dawgmar. And with the spectator delay finally ticking down, and we're going to be getting ourselves into our final game of the night, Dawgmar versus Dudbro Gaming. It's a little confusing to have Dawgmar be on the team of Dawgmar, although I guess it would be weird if he wasn't on Dawgmar. But
Dawgmar playing for Dudbro against Dawgmar. Wait.
Yeah, I feel like it would be a bit of a conflict of interest, but at the same time, it's also confusing when I say the team Dawgmar versus the player Dawgmar. I feel like I have to say Dawgmar Gaming, and now the more that I say it, Dawgmar is starting to not sound like a real word.
It was never a real word.
It was never a real word, but you know what I mean.
I'm surprised we haven't seen any invades. We had a little bit of a cheeky check for if an invade was feasible last game, and it was elected that it was not.
Interesting to note, Naysayer has opted for Airy in this laning phase as opposed to what I think is more commonly the Ignite, or not the Ignite, the Electrocute, or sometimes even the Phase Rush for the safety that Syndra can have.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, Airy is the choice for him, and it looks like both these sides are prepared for the invade. Dawgmar are walking in, but Dudbro have stacked beautifully in this side lane brush. I don't even know if it will be checked. There's no vision just yet. It's going to be 5 versus 5. The glacial obligates proc Dawgmar. It's a nice knock up on everybody. The flash over the wall. Airtone is following. Chihuahua Dog is also following. First blood. Chihuahua Dog picks up the body. Sirian is going to pick up Airtone, but that's 2 kills going over to the Seraphine. Suddenly it's a 3v3. Kobu is getting the damage into Treyarch. He gets picked up. Mullins is here in the front line trying to do damage onto Kobu. There he picks it up. Mullins flashes over the wall into Clue. Serene is trying to do a lot of damage to him as well. Mullins just getting the explosive bomb off, but he doesn't have the Hailblades up into the press the attack. Naysayer gets the last auto attack. Clue, I think, gets the last auto as well. Mullins falls down. That's 5 kills to 3. What an exciting minute 1.
I jinxed it.
You said that there weren't any invades, and then
they decided to make up for it.
They decided to have 8 kills by 1 minute and 30 seconds.
That was definitely bad. Now Syndra is 2-0-3. Uh-oh.
Yeah, Syndra getting a lot of kills in the early game is good. Seraphine getting a couple of tier stacks as well as the extra amp tome for lane. Not bad, but it is definitely not a Dark Seal start with the Corrupting Potion. That's pretty good for the Syndra.
If she had started Dark Seal, they'd have a much larger problem right now. Luckily, she started Corrupting Pot because, of course, how could you have predicted that as Naysayer?
Yeah, thankfully, the Dark Seal start has been fairly nerfed, so people aren't starting with it anymore. The Snowball is much less potent, which means that the early game lead is big for Dudbro, but not insurmountable.
A 400 gold lead at 2.5 minutes.
It's massive. It's actually, I lied to you, it's insurmountable, it's doomed. Dawgmar might as well just GG go next.
GG go next. Well, didn't win by minute 5, we're over. See you guys.
Yeah, I will say I'm kind of surprised that both of these sides opted for the, what I would call is the invade path. I think it would have been really easy for Dudbro to just not stack the brush, to just sit in, like, inside the blue bush itself or ward the river and make sure that the invade wasn't coming, but instead they fully opted to Dawgmar gets the Hex flash forward into Airto, but Airto wants his revenge into Mullins, knows he doesn't have cleanse. Mullins has to jump away, and now Dawgmar's going to be taking a bit of damage while he's still unmounted. No heal coming through from him.
Glacial speeds.
Yeah, he's getting stunned up. Clue gets the last auto through. It's 2 kills for the Misfortune, and this lane is suddenly a disaster for Dawgmar and Mullins.
This... As I kind of thought, Rel really probably not a great choice into someone who can lock you down and just shoot you a bunch.
Yeah, someone who is happy to stand still and auto attack like Misfortune. A pretty good matchup against Rel, even though she doesn't have a lot of mobility. A nice stunt from Naysayer into the stun from Chihuahua Dog, but there's a lot of shielding and healing coming through for Serene, but it's not enough. Picked up by the Viego.
Probably jumping onto the... never mind. I was going to say, jumping onto the Seraphine is probably not the move, but it looks like he managed to get out without getting hit too hard.
He takes 1 tower shot, but then he's also playing Seraphine, so he can just stack a heal on himself and on Naysayer, so it's not a real issue. Chayaris has made his way up into this top side. Nice pillar, but a nice dodge out from the Facebreaker from Kova means he doesn't even have to lose his flash. Like, he would anyway, but he wouldn't have to lose his flash.
We're showing how it's done. This is what you do whenever you get ganked by a Trundle, guys.
Yeah, you dash over the pillar. You don't dash into it. Big brain stuff.
We go around the leaf. Set now just beating the crap out of Kova.
Yeah, it is still early game Set versus early game Gwen. This is still definitely Set favored. However, it's good that the Gwen is not dying in this lane, despite having died in the invade. Got a couple of more assists, so it's a little bit more gold in her pocket. So even though she's down CS, she's going to be able to pick up this wave, start sustaining a bit more once she gets the Leeching Leer, and she'll be fine in the lane, as long as she doesn't give away too much.
Require a stack. Or 2, actually.
Yeah, it's a couple of stacks for the Syndra on the top side, and now she's going to be trying to abuse the laning phase a little bit more. The extra bit of area damage coming through from that second Q. Dawgmar tried to find his way into the bottom lane, but good disengage from Airtone and Clue, and yeah, this is the problem with Rel when your team is not ridiculously ahead.
Getting ganked by Trundle is going to be a problem for pretty much only Syndra. Syndra's the only one that really gets hurt that much if she gets ganked, especially with the root from Seraphine, but it'll all depend on whether or not Trundle actually goes for that.
Yeah, again, Chihuahua Dog trying to find his way into this mid lane, but Serene staying a bit too far away means that he's not going to get picked up. Good positioning from him to not let himself get picked up by the gank.
Regrettably, an Infernal first Drake.
No Infernal Soul this time around, so no team coming to a screaming lead by stacking those dragons, but it does mean that both of these teams are probably more likely to look to pick it up in the early game, which means that we'll be getting a bit of an early game scuffle as the junglers are both on the bottom side.
An instant kill on the ward.
Oh, Mullins once, and the stun is not going to land from Dawgmar. There's the exhaust from Clue. A nice flash forward to force the flash away from Clue. Exhaust being traded. No summoners on the Misfortune. Mullins has the summoners back. Airtone maybe wants something in. And the nice Paler from Chayaris is going to keep his support safe.
Clue being very greedy for not having any mana.
Yeah, no mana for this dragon fight is fairly important for Misfortune. Even though not at that level 6 mark, it's still a mana-reliant AD carry for that Q and the
Those Qs are brutal.
Dawgmar wanted to
Which
get on
one?
an air tone, but a nice sidestep using the Scuttlecraft vision. The extra bit of movement speed coming through there. It looks like Dawgmar are going to just start up the dragon, and it looks like Dubro are just going to give it over for free.
You can have 4% AP and AD as a treat.
We've taken enough of an early lead from you. We're already 2,000 gold ahead. You can have the dragon. It's not a huge deal.
If you need it, you can take it.
I do like that Chachi has opted for the early Vamp Scepter in this lane, trying to match the sustain that Gwen is going to have with the Conqueror. As he's opted for the Lethal Tempo, which I think he is, which means he is going to be going for the more split-pushing style. Grab the Bork, grab maybe the Triforce as well, just try and just take towers down while the rest of the team is playing around the map.
Gwen naturally has inbuilt healing from her passives.
From the passive, from the Conqueror, from her ulti, she gets a lot of sustain from the eventual Rifts Maker that will come through, I'm sure.
Set's sustain comes from his passive as well. He just gets a bunch of HP regen though.
Yeah, it's just regen as opposed to the auto attack trading that Chachi seems to like to do in these lanes.
We've got a pretty decent CS lead for the top lane, which is matched by an equivalently decent CS lead for the jungle.
Oh, Siren doesn't have mana. Naysayer gets the last Q flashed away. If that Q connects, that's a kill. Chachi here in trouble. Chihuahua Dog is getting the auto attacks in. There's the needlework from Gwen. A nice Haymaker shield, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Chihuahua Dog flashing forward to guarantee that one. And Airtone just keeping Treyarch away as this Viego gets farther forward. A nice flash to get away from the Cinder Stone as well.
Lots of suns being used all around the board.
Yeah, but they are all coming in favor of Dudbro. I was a little worried after game one that this was going to be a very quick 2-0 snap open and shut from Dawgmar, but instead, Dudbro have taken this series back and are looking to just close out a clean game 3.
They've slowed down a lot in the bot lane. The supports have decided that they are needed elsewhere.
Mullins once in again. The stun does not land again. There's the bullet time from Misfortune. Has to be flashed away from Mullins. Dawgmar's knockup just a little too late to come through. And it feels like just a bit of mismatch from Mullins and Dawgmar. The stun not coming through on the rel jump in. Tristana not able to get close enough to get the stun off.
Mullins deciding that boxing the 4-0 Misfortune is a great idea is probably not a great idea.
Fairly enough, in terms of items, they are relatively even. It is really just the crit cloak versus the longsword, so that extra crit coming through being a little dangerous. Mullins trying to get damage into Airtone, but with with the bone plating, he's not going to be too pressed about taking the Tristana autos.
A little bit of poke is a treat. Oof.
There's Herald Charge.
We've got Viego who just lives in the mid lane. Yeah,
Treyarch is here. He's unspotted, but I don't think they're going to be looking for a fight anyway. Just clearing out the Rift Herald. The plates go over to the Syndra and the Viego, but no extra tower plating and gold coming from that one. Oh, Naysayer may have overstepped. A nice stun onto Serene, but Treyarch is here. Nice flash away from the ulti. Gets the Unleashed Power, but it's not enough damage.
Oh.
You can't come through either. Naysayer going to get picked up. Shutdown gold. Given over to Treyarch.
There goes that Dark Seal.
Dark Seal stacks gone, shutdown gold to Trundle, and suddenly the game looks a bit closer than it did 2 minutes ago.
I was about to comment on that. I was like, we got a 4,000 gold lead on 10 minutes. Now we don't. Close, but not quite.
Yeah, the gold leads across the board. Still definitely in favor of Dudbro, but giving over shutdown gold like that is a definite way to get it closer. Chiaris has snuck his way up here again. Kovu dashes away. There's the pillar. Nice knockback, forcing the flash and the needlework out of Kovu. All of his defensives used just to keep himself safe from that one gank.
Oh, there's Rel running away from Airtone.
Yeah, it's not a fight they want to take just yet. Looking at the level disparity in the 80 carries, level 7 to level 6, even with Mullins having his cleanse, it's not a fight they want to take just yet. Airtone is going to get spotted out on the ward.
They're a lot more cautious. Both teams are very anxious to engage in things that could lose them the game if they slip up.
Yeah, it's the game 3 syndrome where these teams they had a very confident lead in one game and got absolutely decimated in the other game. So now suddenly both teams don't want to be the player to throw away the lead and throw away the game for their fellow teammates.
We have Set is slowly.
Oh, Airtone wants his way in. A nice Zenith Blade and a stun on the Mullins, but Mullins has cleanse. Airtone might be too deep in. Muddy's gonna survive with 1 HP, not taken out. In the meantime, Dawgmar is keeping Clue and Naysayer busy, but a nice bullet time over the top is gonna take Dawgmar down. Exhaust goes down into Treyarch just to make sure he can't get back in, and Airtone somehow lived through that whole fight with a sliver of HP. Mullins didn't have the damage to finish it off, which means that it is 1 kill to 0 in favor of Dudbro.
Hey, Cinder got her Dark Shield there.
She got 2 stacks back, but now with the Dragon being started up by Chachi, I think even with the teamfight win being in favor of Dudbro, again, Dawgmar is going to pick up the Dragon.
An Infernal and a Hextech is a solid buff.
Mountain Dragon, 3rd Dragon would be pretty good here. It's not exactly, I would say, the best one. I think Ocean Soul for either team would be the most preferred, given the first 2 Dragons that we saw, but Mountain Soul is not Cloud Soul, so we take it.
Well, hey, Mountain Soul could be extremely useful for.
Oh, Saran, you're a little bit too far forward. Chihuahua Dog and Airtone not letting you play the game. Airtone gets another kill for himself. Dawgmar tries to get in, but Viego goes immune when he picks up a body. Now Chihuahua Dog getting the extra damage onto Dawgmar, getting all these auto attacks in, but he gets picked up. Dawgmar gets the kill for himself. Naysayer is now in, though, picks up the kill on Dawgmar, and Treyarch is forced to walk away. Doesn't have his mythic just yet, so doesn't really have the damage to keep the fight going.
That was probably the worst case scenario for that team fight they could have done.
The support's picking up 2 kills, or a kill each for themselves, and Naysayer getting 1 kill for himself is pretty good for Dudbro.
Pretty good for Dudbro, except for you stacked Syndra's Dark Seal. It would have been better if... Dawgmar could have somehow killed himself to Leona. Leona's
Just giving Leona the kill instead somehow with all of the bursts that Cinder was throwing through. Like denying creeps in Dota. Imagine just trying to deny the kill by like throwing yourself under tower to give the kill over to someone else.
Leona actually can deny herself.
Can she?
Yeah, her Q does damage to herself if she walks up to towers and hits them.
Oh, I think that's a bug that got patched. I'm hoping that got patched at least.
I don't know if it got patched, but I did know at one point that Leona could kill herself.
Leona, the only League of Legends champion to be able to deny own creeps. Oh, big damage from Clue on that double up. I think that got the Kraken Slayer proc as well. Oh, Dawgmar wants in. Magnetstorm was only going to catch 1. Airtone going to get crowd controlled up. Nice dodge on the charm. There's the bullet time, bringing plenty of damage in. Mullins has to flash away from the solar flare. Gets the jump reset in, but he jumps into the Clue! Gets caught out, unstoppable. Kova, in the meantime, is 2v1ing up on the top side. Chachi's going to die to the tower in the 2v1. Kova picks up 1 kill for himself. Clue gets a double kill on the bottom side of the map. Kova gets Chachi. Chihuahua Dog picks up Treyarch, and it is just a disaster for Dawgmar across the map.
I don't know if you noticed there, but Seraphine actually walked into MF ult, out of MF ult, and then back into MF ult.
Dawgmar had all of the confidence in game 1. They smashed through with comfort picks like the Braum, like the Tristana. But now, going into game 3, suddenly the momentum has totally shifted in favor of Dudbro, and they are running away with this game.
They're almost conscientiously deciding... Oh, they were wondering who wanted first tower gold.
Who wanted first tower gold? How many creeps can you get away with letting die to the tower as opposed to being picked up by your opposing laner? It was gold not given over, and that means extra gold in the pockets of Dudbro. And again, they are continuing to run away with this game. 8,000 gold lead as we hit the 16-minute mark. That is insane lead. To Dawgmar's credit,
they do have 2 Drakes.
They have 2 dragons, and it is a Mountain Soul, so if they can get to that 3rd dragon and start stacking the dragons for themselves...
Rel can get really potent.
Rel can get really tanky, Set can get really tanky, even the Trundle can get really tanky for himself. And there's a lot of gold to be picked up from Dudbro. They have plenty of shutdown gold to give over, so if Clue pulls a Mullins and steps too far forward in a team fight, suddenly it's 700 extra gold to give it over. We haven't seen him play like that in any of this series, but you know, it could happen. It could.
In all
Being
fairness,
positive for Dawgmar here.
Trundle actually gets equivalently tanky regardless of who gets them out, and so...
I guess because he's stealing the resistances.
Yeah.
He'll get slightly tankier if he's the one with the extra potent resistances on himself. Dawgmar looking for an engage onto Airtone and Naysayer. Naysayer, a nice sidestep to get away from that one.
Dawgmar almost spiteful against Airtone.
Yeah, has to flush away from the Solar Flare as well. That felt like a bit of an over-aggressive force. The support is not the person you want to be engaging on.
Taking a little bit of time to reset, farm up, get acquainted. We've got MF who's decided the mid lane is hers.
Yeah, and once MF hits this 2-item power spike with the Lord Dominic's, oh, there's the engage on the Naysayer. There's that teamfight ulti combo. Dawgmar gets himself the shutdown gold. This is the supports world. They're getting every kill. This is the supports have running the game.
Of all the supports to even get kills, Rel is one of the weakest ones.
Rel is probably the worst, yeah. I mean, getting her extra tank items faster is nice. Chachi has found himself on the flank, but his team is a bit far away. Gwen is putting the needlework into his back, has the haymaker, but the true damage gets immune. Stays immune. There's the showstopper just for a little bit of flair as Kova's going to pick that one up. But again, as the team fight goes in favor of Dudbro, Dawgmar is looking for the dragon. Treyarch has it down to 2k, 1.5. Chihuahua Dog is being kept out of the pit. There's the Heartbreaker in, but it gets claimed by Treyarch. That's the third dragon for themselves. They lose Dawgmar. Treyarch gets to flash himself out, and that's only two. It's 2 lost, but the dragon claimed.
That was
certainly could have been worse, I think. Definitely could have been less good for Dawgmar, as they have collected the 3rd dragon for themselves, which means if they can collect the next one, that's Soul Dragon for themselves, which is going to make team fights a lot easier, but it's definitely still not great for them.
It looks like we might see... Nope, I was about to say, it looks like we might see a 2-use Herald, but that was quickly
shut down. Treyarch heard you and caster curse you immediately. No, smite the Herald.
Smite Herald, spite caster.
He heard you 3 minutes into the future, as there is the spectator delay. He knew you were gonna say that as the Herald was walking up to the tower, and he made the play in advantage. He's coming after you specifically.
Syndra regrettably losing all of our Darkseal stacks in the earlier Dragon Scuffle.
Yeah, I think this Darkseal may not just have the advantage that Naysayer was looking for, but he didn't build it into the Medjais, so he's not losing too much gold value. He's going to be able to get himself a Shadow Flame. This is going to be a strong Syndra.
Funnily enough, actually getting out CS'd by Seraphine, focusing more on picking up kills. Probably in light of that Darkseal, probably an error.
Yeah, Blue is able to do a lot of damage with these levels up. So yeah, Naysayer, despite being behind in CS, I would have to assume is up in gold, just looking at the items they have across the board for each other. Chachi has picked up, again, as I said in Game 2, a bit of a smorgasbord of items, as he finally gets himself the Blade of the Rune King. Maybe that item recipe got changed, but he had the Hearthbound Axe, and I didn't think it built into the pork. I'm gonna have to check the recipe on that one, because I think in the item update, or in the fighter item changes, it got changed up a little bit.
Yes,
No, I think he may have just sold it, but there's the engage from Airtone. Mullins is absolutely deleted. Nice Magnet Storm onto 3, but there's no team follow-up. Serene, again, a great charm onto 3, but where's the damage follow-up? Where's the team? Chihuahua Dog is gonna pick up Dawgmar, take his body, use it on Treyarch, and get Treyarch's body as well.
Thankfully, those 2 kills on that Rel really helped them get the damage they needed. Alright. Looks like we're gonna get Baron. You can have 3 Drakes, they'll take Baron instead.
Yeah, with the next dragon not spawning for another 2 minutes, the Baron buff will be up by the time they have the dragon to fight over, which, again, game is running quickly away from Dawgmar, and it's feeling much closer to an impossibility for them to come back. 10,000 gold now. Yikes!
I have won games like that, but not against players who are this good.
It's definitely not unwinnable.
Impossible.
It's not unwinnable. It's not unusable. However, it's going to be difficult.
You're going to need to get a lot better, or the enemy is going to suddenly need to get a lot worse. I believe Dawgmar has been overextending a lot, really looking to pick up this Leona, expecting to do more damage than they do. Just
Yeah,
not.
I think Dawgmar and overextending are probably just two words that we can use in tandem for a lot of this series. Mullins had the lead in game one to make it work, but Mullins and I think even Chachi and Serene have been very aggressively posed in all three of these games, but just don't have the lead in game 2 and 3 to make that actually work.
We had 2 Karma Curses back to back, and then I think Dawgmar just thinks Rel does more damage than she does. Trundle blocked him, that's funny.
Trundle got the pillar. No fight coming off of it, but again, this is just Dudbro happy to continue to push the lead with their Baron buff. They only have the inner and the inhibitor towers to actually pick up, and they don't have to force any fights. Obviously the players can't see the gold lead outside of the, like the ones that we're seeing. They can't tell that they're exactly 10,000 gold ahead.
Unless they're using software that does.
I think Riot is pretty hefty on that being cheating. I'm not 100% certain, but
no, they're fine with Blitz actually. Blitz is sponsored by Riot.
Airtone finding Chachi, wants to go in. I think Chachi is just going to be able to walk out of this one. Kovu is in the middle of the enemy team though. Gwen is immune, trying to just play a little bit of Ring Around the Rosie with the needlework. Has to flash over the wall. I think this bomb might actually kill him, even with the healing. Yes! Mullins gets himself shut down gold. Jumps in on top of Airtone. Gets himself a second kill. 2 shutdown gold goes over to him. There's a lot of gold in the pockets of Mullins. Nice bullet time over the top. There's the charm from Serene. The shutdown goes overthrough. Mullins wants to jump in, but no! Clue! The shutdown gold finally goes over to Serene. But that is a lot of damage coming through from Clue before he dies. A double kill over to him. But with that, that's another teamfight win for Dawgmar, and suddenly, they have Mountain Soul. What?
That is going to help Trundle tank up a lot.
How? I watched the teamfight, I casted it, I saw it happen. How do you go from a 10,000 gold lead to giving up Mountain Soul in the span of a minute?
Tristana got a kill.
Tristana got 2 kills, both of them being shutdown gold, which, you know, great for Tristana. It's a lot of money in her pocket, but that's not a team fight win. That's not a guaranteed, like, win. She's still 2,000 gold underneath Clue.
Set got to flash and showstop an MF ult.
Yeah, that's true.
Which was huge.
I saw it happen. I watched it happen with my own eyes, but it still... It feels like it shouldn't have been a possibility, but now with Mountain Soul in their pockets, perhaps this is Dawgmar's way of coming back into this game. The gold lead down from 10,000, now only about 6,500, which still a lot, but a lot of money back towards Dawgmar.
Tristana was able to quickly execute Kovu, who ran away without being able to do much of anything. Kovu overextended. They all killed Kovu.
Speaking of overextended, Dawgmar may have found himself overextended. A nice Magnet Storm onto multiple members. Charm is going to go wide. Mullins has to rocket jump his way out. Kovu, in the meantime, is 1v2 on the sidelines. But Chachi gets to lead, and where did his health bar go? He had the Haymaker, but he just died before he could get it off. Chihuahua Dog picks up Treyaris as well. I may have cast a curse then by saying that Mountain Soul was the way back in, as Dog says double kill for Viego, and that might, with the respawn timers being fairly high, might be the end of the game. That is going to be the inhibitor tower and the inhibitor for sure. Yikes. Oh, they're looking for it. They won the end of the game. First, Nexus Tower is getting focused down. Dawgmar wants in Airtone, keeping Mullins out of the fight. Chihuahua Dog taking a lot of damage, has the Death Stance, but I think he's going to survive with a sliver of HP here. Kovu taking the Tristana bomb. No end to be found, but plenty of damage to come through.
Living only by virtue of the fact that Mullins just happened to not be one of the individuals who died in that fight. ADC holding down the fort.
ADC just able to wave clear, and Airtone diving a little bit too far forward from his team. Didn't end up dying for it, but definitely I would call a bit over the top. I think the games have definitely been about who's going to overextend more and who's going to give up more of a lead as the game continues on.
Back up to a comfortable nearly 9,000 gold lead.
Yeah, it felt like Dawgmar, they won one team fight and we're like, okay, we're still in this game. We got the Mountain Soul, we can take a fight. And then realized that
could not.
they could not.
You can engage on mistakes. You can't win team fights.
You can certainly pick people off, and you can take people in like 1v2s, 1v3s, but as we saw with Kovu, on the side of that fight, just holding down the fort against Treyarch and Chachi, not letting them play the game.
The set getting deleted by what I believe was a Syndra combo and then just being hit by Gwen.
Yeah, he was at like, I want to say like above half HP with his grit fully stacked, but then he just disappeared from my screen. I almost wanted to call it a bug, like, oh man, there's no way like he lost that much HP, but looking at how far ahead Syndra is, yeah, you definitely could.
I think Syndra just hit him a couple of times and then Gwen got the last hit.
Syndra hit him with QE and Gwen had the needlework coming out, so he just didn't get to play. I also want to point out, interesting to note, Chachi looks like he's going for potentially the Stride Breaker second item, but that definitely could be the Gore Drinker. I like the Bork first item, but he's been caught up in these team fights too much. He hasn't been able to sit in the side lanes and like pressure these towers and try to force the team to play around objectives at his pace. Instead, he's been following his team around for the fights and not able to get the same amount of value that a Bruiser set would be able to get.
I feel that with the way these fights are going, Gore Drinker is definitely the move.
I think both are viable, but with the Baron ticking down to 5k, it looks like there's no contest from Dawgmar. A free Baron for Dudbro. And you have to imagine as the gold lead skyrockets again to near 10,000 gold, that Dudbro have to find a way to end this game on this Baron buff.
Nearly triple the kills. Short of Malin getting a couple more items, I don't foresee... Oh man, Trundle's still only at 2.
Yeah, Trundle on 2 items.
Full item on him.
Chihuahua Dog is on 3. Kovu is on 3, while Chachi is just barely putting together his second item. Soon, I would hope, but he is so ridiculously far behind that it feels like even with Mountain Soul, he can't be a good frontliner for his team.
It was like we were saying in the first game, a behind set is just not very effective.
Especially with this particular style of build. Like, if he went Gore Drinker first item, and he opted for, like, a Sterak's or a Spirit Visage second, maybe he can be a better frontliner, but he went for the lethal tempo, he went for the Bork, but he wasn't able to win in the straight 1v1 on the side. So that means his team is just going to be lacking a defensive frontliner, which feels pretty bad.
2 tanks versus 1 tank is not a good position to be in.
It's not even 2 tanks. It feels like 2 half tanks because Trundle has the Sterak's, sure, but he also has the Sunderer, which isn't making him incredibly beefy. Oh, Dawgmar wants in. A nice flash away from Clue to keep away from the charging horse. And it looks like, again, Dawgmar have control of the pit, but nice teleport coming in from Kovu. A nice Magnet Storm from 3 onto Dawgmar, but where's your team follow-up? Serene is not there. Malin's trying to land auto attacks in onto Airtone. Chihuahua Dog goes unstoppable, picks up Dawgmar's body. Clue gets the last hit on Dawgmar. Mullins has to flash away. Treyarch has to flash away. Kovu, in the meantime, is just side laning against Chachi and Serene and is very happy to keep them out of this fight. And with the Elder being spawned up, this is kind of the problem with getting this early Mountain Soul, because that means the other team gets an Elder Dragon. Chachi does a lot of damage. Airtone might fall for it. A good 1-for-1, but I don't think that's going to be enough to get them off of this dragon, unless they're going to instead just opt to end the game. The minions are in the base. I didn't even see it. Naysayer is teleporting into the base with the Baron buff. First tower is going to fall as soon as he autos it 1 time. The rest of Dudbro Gaming are walking into the base. Dawgmar have finally gotten to the recall as well. Second Nexus Tower is the target. Inhibitors respawn. Dawgmar wants his way in, but the Knocker's not going to find anybody. Dawgmar trying to find the stun. Doesn't find anything. Everybody's too quick. Nice charm from Serene. Stops the bullet time in its tracks. But Chihuahua Dog is here, and he is a huge Viego. Picks up the Seraphine's body. A double kill for himself. Gets another couple of bodies. Double kill for Clue, and that's gotta be the end of the game.
That was a great set of conflicts. Interestingly enough, just deciding to ignore the Elder as a whole.
Yeah, I think that was the sort of you lose situation for Dawgmar. If you don't leave it to contest the Elder, you're gonna lose the team fight, lose the Elder, lose the game. But if you leave your base to contest the Elder without preparing the minion waves as they did, you're gonna lose your base and you lose the game. So it was a really catch-22 from Dudbro, and they find themselves with the reverse sweep in this series, managing even after a rather disappointing loss in Game 1 to find a win in Game 2 and Game 3.
Airtone figured out that he wins if he just doesn't play Karma.
Put him on Leona, and the man looks great. Put him on Karma, and could use a little work.
Karmakers.
But with that series win from Dudbro, that is going to be all for us on the broadcast tonight. I have been your illustrious host, What's Too Pretty. This has been my wonderful co-caster, Tall Bird.
Yes.
Yes. And thanks also to Rex, our man in the back lines running the tech for us. Love him as always. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we will hopefully see you next time. Take care.